Welcome to Friday on the AM show. Another beautiful opportunity for us to connect. You from that end, we from this end in the studio, together with our guests as we serve you the finest of morning television. This is the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akako, and I always do this together with Bernice Abubedu Lanza. Welcome aboard. Now, right after this, you know what follows, the news, and after that, the news review. But here's what we have lined up for you today. On Prime Take today with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, his guest is former Vice President of the Ghana Football Association, George Afriyie, who's got a lot of flack, caught a lot of flack and fire in recent times. Don't miss that one. It's going to be an interesting conversation on sports, football to be specific. And then from there, it's been a while, hasn't it? Over a month. I'll be coming your way today with my blunt thoughts. And today I've titled it, The Cloak of Corruption and the Frock of Populism Undressing Our Politicians. That's it. The cloak of corruption and the frock of populism undressing our politicians. And then we get into our big stories and stakeholders in education who joined the celebration of International Literacy Day at Kejebi in the Otu region. My area of town, by the way, have called on all to support complementary education to thrive. Now, according to the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, Complementary Education Agency, and Engage Now Africa, no one must be left behind in education in the ever-changing global community. But how many? Just how many are getting left behind? Today we contemplate that. That's the first story we're going to be looking at on our plate for today. Of course, as always, we offer you the opportunity of getting interactive with us, sharing with us what your thoughts are on these myriad matters. We'll also activate the phone lines and engage you. So just stay tuned, stay put. Let's serve you the news up next. Thank you for staying with us. We appreciate your time. And it's time now for the AM News. In our first story, families of three young men who were alleged to have apprehended and later gruesomely murdered by personnel of the Police Intelligence Directorate have appealed to the Interior and National Security Ministers to commence investigations to unravel the mystery, surrounding the death of the young men. Now, the trio, Jima Kocho, 28, his sibling, Hadi Salifu, 24, and Abudu Habib, 30, were apprehended at their homes during the wee hours of December the 1st, 2022, by gun-wielding men at Tuna and Nahari in the Savannah region. Now, spokesperson for the families, Detective Chief Inspector Adam Yaya, retired, says the only way crimes unconscionable such as this could be halted is for the perpetrators to be brought to justice. Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam traveled to Tuna, where two of the deceased were buried, and has this report.
Tuna and Nahari are mourning. The two communities are a few kilometers away from each other and both located in the Solo Tuna Calvert district of the Savannah region. The people are grieving over the loss of three young men who are between the ages of 24 and 30 and were allegedly gruesomely murdered by the Directorate of the Ghana Police Service almost 10 months ago. The grief echoes the whole Tuna community. The loss is profound, and one generation of a family is wiped out.
But if somebody is arrested to be a criminal, he has to follow the due process. Maybe go to a police station, go to court, and the court will see to pass judgment. If he'll be in prison, he'll be in prison. But to kill him, now that we are sitting, we don't know why they were killed.
When they went to deposit them at the police mortuary, they recorded in the mortuary book as unidentified suspects. Unidentified means you don't know their identity, you don't know their names. Somebody you claim has confessed to a crime, you don't know the name. Is it possible?
The incident occurred during the wee hours of the morning when the trio, Jima Kocho, 28, his sibling Hadi Salifu, 24, and Abudu Abibu, 30, were apprehended at their homes and later allegedly shot dead by plainclothes PID personnel.
This is actually the house of Jima Koto, who was lying here on the dead of the night with his pregnant wife. And so when the personnel came around, they tried to open the door, and the door was not opening. So they forcibly opened it, went inside the house, just handpicked him, brought him out.
Detective Chief Inspector Adam Jaya retired is a direct uncle of Jima Kocho and Hadi Salifu, and he speaks for the family.
For about 3-4 days, we are not getting any information. Then, due to the report of the Nklige FM, the youth were becoming agitated. So, upon intelligence, the regional police commander came to Tona on the 9th of December and met the chiefs and the people in the palace and assured them that Jima, Hadi, and all the people arrested are in safe hands in Accra.
After several days of not having any information about their whereabouts, he led some members of the family to the PID headquarters in Accra, but to no avail. They then chose to pursue the matter at a law court, who the police taken out and later held a meeting to address their concern.
It was there and then Yehunu informed us that they never knew that we were in search of those 3 people. And that is why they didn't respond until they got the suit, before they got to know that it is those people they arrested and killed in Swala that we're looking for. Shockingly, he told us that day in question, Mr. Yohunu, that the PID on their return to Accra went with 7 dead bodies. 7 dead bodies from Savannah region. So, if you are ready, they've made arrangements at the police mortuary. We should go there and identify whether the 3 people we are looking for are among the 7 dead bodies. How?
Their morbid curiosity was satisfied in the end, but on the altar of the faces, they struggled to identify.
When I went to extend them on in April at the mortuary, I couldn't even identify them because all their faces were covered with blood. So I have to ask one of the mortuary men because I was suspecting I saw Jima Kocho, but I was finding it difficult to identify him because the whole face was off.
The bodies of the 3 young men were finally released to their families for burial.
And so the family at the moment, they are grieving. And then also you can see that the situation here is not all that the best. It's of a somber mood, a lot of tear eyes, and seated straight or in front of her door is the mother of 2 of the personalities that we are talking about.
The only children I have on earth, and they have been killed. I would like to appeal to the government to punish all those that are part of this dastardly act so that it won't repeat itself again.
The families of Jima Kocho and Hadi Salifu have already labeled 1st December 2022 as Black Thursday, and they want nothing but justice for these people who were allegedly shot dead.
Those who came for the operation, or all those who sanctioned the operation, I'm appealing to the Minister of Interior, Ambrose Dere. I'm appealing to the Minister of National Security. I'm appealing to the Commissioner for Human Rights to come in, get these people investigated, and put them and bring them to book to serve as a deterrent.
The trio left behind 3 wives and 9 children.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Tona.
Let's talk politics now. And Member of Parliament for Dome Kwabenya, Sarah Adwasafo, has publicly rendered an apology to the President and the rank and file of her party for her actions and inactions that have hurt the New Patriotic Party. According to the former Deputy Majority Leader, her actions were not deliberate and were regrettable. Adwasafo took a leave of absence in 2021, citing personal reasons, and even had it extended indefinitely beyond August the 31st, 2021. As a result of her extended absence and perceived ineffectiveness as both a lawmaker and a government appointee, She was relieved of her role as Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Now, despite attempts by Parliament's Privileges Committee to obtain reasons for her prolonged absence, she did not provide any. But in a televised message, the Dome Kwabena Member of Parliament says none of her actions were deliberate.
I wish to proffer my sincere apology to His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Chief of Staff, Honorable Frema Osei Opare, the Majority Leader and the entire leadership of Parliament, my colleague members of Parliament, the entire Majority Caucus, the leadership of our great party, the National Chairman and the General Secretary, together with all your executives, the regional executives of Greater Accra, the constituency executives of Dome Kwabena, led by Chairman Musu, all polling station executives. I wish to state that I'm sincerely sorry. I apologize for my actions and inactions. None of my actions were intentional, deliberate, or calculated to bring disrepute to our great party. I was going through a lot as a mother and as a woman. I want to take this opportunity to ask for your forgiveness for anything untoward that I have done to bring the name of the party into disrepute. As the saying goes, to err is human and to forgive is divine. I ask for your forgiveness.
Meanwhile, some constituents of Dome Kwabena have been sharing mixed reactions to the apology rendered by their Member of Parliament.
Madam Adwoa Safo, who had taken a leave of absence in 2021 citing personal reasons, had her leave extended indefinitely beyond August 31, 2021 as a result of her extended absence and perceived ineffectiveness as both a lawmaker and government appointee. She was relieved of her role as Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, despite attempts by Parliament's Privileges Committee to obtain reasons for her prolonged absence. She did not provide any. Now, the exact reason for this apology remains unclear, but she says she's sorry.
I wish to proffer my sincere apology to His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Chief of Staff, Honorable Frema Osei Opare, the Majority Leader and the entire leadership of Parliament, my colleague members of Parliament, the entire Majority Caucus, the leadership of our great party, the National Chairman and the General Secretary, together with all your executives, the regional executives of Greater Accra, the constituency executives of Dome.
Her apology has already been received with a sharp reaction. Her constituency secretary, Theophilus Ansalabi, said although her apology has been accepted, they are not willing to support her parliamentary bid.
She has every right to apologize. If she deems it within herself that she's done something wrong to the constituents and that she wants to apologize, that is fine. But we say, okay, very good, we accept your apology, but I think enough is enough.
What do you mean? You say enough is enough?
We have the men and the women. Dome Kwabena's name cannot be mentioned in the news for the wrong reasons all the time because of just one person. And I say here that I am a party leader and a delegate who takes part in the selection of candidates for the constituency.
But some constituents have been sharing mixed reactions about the apology by Madam Adwoa Safo.
Safo administration is very poor. It's very, very poor. When it's voting time, you see her around, go up and down with the macho men. That's what they are, all of them are up to. But not we, the people they represent our need.
She's a human being. And we, human being, offend human being. You understand? So if she has done something, she has realized that what she has done is wrong. And she has come for an apology. Who are we to say no? We'll forgive her.
But I don't have anything to say. But I don't want to have to say, if you come, they make every effort to thank everybody. We didn't have anything to say it again. Just allow him to do whatever he did.
The Dome Kwabena constituency is the largest in Ghana with over 150,000 voters. A reason happenings here got attraction. At the moment, it is unclear if Sarah Adjoa will be contesting the next elections. All eyes are fixed for the unfolding developments. Samuel Mbura, Joy News, Dom Kobia.
Let's stay on the political front as former Agric Minister and NPP flag bearer hopeful Dr. Efri Akoto is rallying party members in preparation for the 2024 election. The party's elections committee has completed the balloting allocation for all 4 candidates, placing the former Agric Minister in the 3rd position on the ballot. He explains that the November 4 election should not divide the party, but rather serve as an opportunity to unite behind a single candidate to break the 8. He has been addressing the media.
I have been humbled by the decision of the super delegates to select me as one of the 5 candidates to contest for the flag bearership race on the 4th of November 2023. The 4th November election is not a make or break issue for the party. It is to elect one of us to bear the flag of our noble party going forward to the presidential elections scheduled for the 7th of December 2024. It offers an opportunity for all of us to unite behind one person, to lead us to break the 8 and not to break the party.
Now, the search for Jean Mensah and other top Electoral Commission officials as lawyers of a first-time voter accused the election management body of evading service and failing to respect a court injunction ordering a halt on the EC's limited registration exercise. The lawyers and a court bailiff have been unable to serve a contempt of court application on the Electoral Commission after a 3rd attempt this morning. The plaintiff, 18-year-old, that was actually yesterday morning, the plaintiff, 18-year-old Precious Aita, secured a contempt application against the Electoral Commission after the EC proceeded with the limited voter registration exercise, despite an earlier injunction by the applicants. The following report has more.
On Tuesday, lawyers for 18-year-old Precious Aita were informed by the Electoral Commission officials to return on Wednesday to serve the contempt of court application because they were locked up in a meeting. Unfortunately, the lawyers were turned away by the police on duty on the next day. The situation was not different when the lawyers, together with the bailiff, came back to the Electoral Commission premises on Thursday. After a short interaction with the police, member of the legal team for the plaintiff, Joseph Wellington Blay, explains they have denied entry to the EC offices for the 3rd time.
The message has been simple, that we have to, nobody's allowed to come in or out of, they are not admitting anybody into the EC's premises. That is the message we've been getting, and they've told us that if we want to serve anybody, we have to call the person personally for the person to either come out to come and receive the process. So that is the information that we've been given. We've tried as much as possible to pull strings together so that, because the people that we are serving the EC chairperson herself, Dr. Bosman, and then one Mr. Samuel Tete. Those are the people and it is hard to reach them. So if we're given access, at least the bailiff could have gone inside to attempt service.
What was the reason for not allowing you into the premises?
They didn't offer any reason per se. I think the reason is instructions from above. Nobody's allowed to enter or move out of the premises. So we've been denied access once again.
He said although her client is in high spirits, she's unable to enroll onto the EC's voters register.
It is a very trying moment for her, but she's in good spirits. We are just encouraging her because nobody should be deprived of their rights to be to vote or their rights to be enlisted onto the electoral roll. It is just unfortunate that we are here. She's not been able to register. She can't register. She can't afford the distance between where she resides and the closest district office is over 40 kilometers. Okay. It is practically impossible for.
And the question is, although the distance, she's been able to come and file a case in Tema.
No, so this is a pro bono case. Okay. So our firm and a team of lawyers are helping people like that out. Okay. So we are helping those who are disenfranchised, who feel aggrieved by the decision of the NTC. That is basically.
After a third failed attempt, the lawyers say they are left with no option than to go back to the court for advice. James Kwesiavaji's report read to you.
In our next story, the AU peacekeeping mission in Somalia, known as the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, is citing funding challenges as one of the major reasons it has decided to do a gradual withdrawal of troops from the East African country. There was a successful drawdown of 2,000 troops in July, with 6 forward operating bases handed over to the Somali security forces. The AU has agreed with the Somali government to pull out another 3,000 troops by the end of September, with the mission extended to end of December 2024. Force Commander for the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, Lieutenant General Sam Okiding, says the terror threat posed by Al-Shabaab is not limited to Somalia, but extends to West African countries, including Ghana. Maxwell Agbagba of our security desk has more from Somalia.
The security situation, as you know, in January, in Somalia, because of the terrorist threat, the security situation is fluid and unpredictable. Al-Shabaab has remained the dominant enemy of Somalia and the Horn Africa region. It has now withdrawn from most of major towns and cities to the village and small towns, even bushes or forests across ATMIS area of responsibilities. The strongholds are still in the Juba Valley, Bai, Bakur, and the Gedo regions of Somalia. Those regions are yet to be cleared of Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab has an active force estimated between 12,000 and 15,000 militants operating in the ATMIS area of responsibility. The force generation is facilitated by an aggressive recruitment campaign that is either radicalized, voluntary, or forceful. The tactical modus operandi of Al-Shabaab is still to avoid force-on-force combat with the friendly forces in favor of complex attacks, often employs of combination of various types of improvised explosive devices and ground assault forces. Small-scale raids, ambushes, and cross-cart assassination against government personnel and other individuals challenging the authority. As such, the group largely employs asymmetric warfare tactics. The group mainly operates in small units of less than 20 fighters and can increase the number to approximately 250 fighters to conduct major attacks.
That was the scoop there from Somalia, and that's how we bring an end to the AM News this Friday morning. But stay with us. Up next, we gear up for the news review on the AM Show. Welcome back. Time now for the news review. And we have a very special guest, a very special group of guests this morning. And that special group of guests I'll be introducing to you shortly. Let me just put you out of your misery. That group of guests is you. So this morning, here's what we've decided to do. We've decided that we want to engage you from the top of the show all the way to the end of the show, which is why for the news review, we're asking you, as I dissect the newspapers, to tell me what your thoughts are on these matters. So as we go on, feel free at any moment to call that number, 0302 211 691. It will be rolling at the bottom of your screens shortly. 0302 211 691. Share your thoughts with us on these matters and, of course, tangential or related matters, if you may. Thank you for joining us. Of course, this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. What are they offering you? The same, as always, for free. If you're a man, prostate screening, come, gratis, they will attend to you. That's for the screening. If you're a woman, fertility issues, fertility-related issues, just go there. They'll screen you for free. Whatever follows, of course, you would have to show some commitment. But even these tests are so expensive. So to go for them for free is a big deal. And that's what they're offering you. Here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronomabwe behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji Estates. That's where you locate them. They're also in Tema, Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Enzema. If you'd like to pick up your phone and give them a call, which I suggest you do, the numbers are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review. I think this is the very first time we're doing something like this. Engaging you to share all your thoughts with us on the major stories. So I bid you to take advantage of it. But, there's a but. As you call in, and I hope I'm going to be hearing from some of you this morning, season your words, season your thoughts. Don't come here and be abusive. Don't call in and be abusive and all of that. Share your cogent thoughts with all of Ghana and, in fact, the world. We have listeners, viewers from all over the West African sub-region and more. So please, just keep it simple, straight to the point, and decorous. We have a Yakubu on the line. Hello, Yakubu.
Yes.
You're calling from Wale Wale?
Yes, please.
The Vice President's hometown. How is Wale Wale today?
Wale Wale is very calm and good.
Okay. Just a quick one. Let me know what your thoughts are. We've not even started with the review, but I'm sure there's something you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I just want to give my view about Adjuasafu apology.
Interesting. That's something we did for the news. Go ahead. Sarah Adjuasafu.
I think she's a human being.
Okay.
She has realized her mistake. She has apologized. But I think the onus lies on the people of Dominic to decide whether to give her another chance.
Okay.
But whatever the issue was, I don't know who advised her why she couldn't give the apology earlier. But she decided to do all what she wanted. Then at the end of it, now we are getting to election. People will think that it's because we are getting into election. That is why she's coming out to apologize. Because those days, people used to talk about her. They used to call her even MP, chief of staff.
True.
And this woman will not budge. She won't say anything. Well,
but to be fair to her too, you do realize that even I remember my colleague Blessed Sogai interacted with her. Then she came into town. She has offered some form of apology before. This wouldn't be the first time she said she was sorry. I think even she addressed something to Mr. President at some point. But now she's coming out again, maybe formally to do it. But I understand what you're saying. People will say it's because she wants to get the nod again from her party.
Yes. The thing is that... Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead, sir.
You are holding public office. It is not your personal office. If it is your personal issue, that one you can decide to keep it and voice it out at any time you want.
Right.
How you are representing your people in parliament. You cannot be absent in parliament more than 2 weeks without recourse to your constituents. without recourse to the authority of Parliament. But she did more than that. So that is why we are saying that if it is your personal issue and you are not holding public office, you can keep it to yourself. Nobody cares.
Right.
But as long as you hold public office, whatever you do, you must.
It will be under the microscope.
Public. You must involve the public so that they know what is happening.
Right.
If it is that you cannot more run the office, you resign honorably. Then you can imagine there were times minority in Parliament. They were calling. No, I think some of the members of MPP were calling for by-election.
Indeed.
It became so murky, became so political. Whilst some members of MPP wanted her to come out so that they would do by-election, the minority didn't want it because they knew that the absence of Adjosafo was playing to their game.
Okay.
Which I think she actually put the party.
Okay, so the bottom line for you is, at the same time, you know, because of time and because others will call, let's make it a bit brief. So the bottom line for you is... Hello, Yakubu?
Yes, please, I'm with you.
What's the bottom line for you? You don't think she should get the nod?
No, I don't think. There are a lot of men and women in the party who want the opportunity and they gave it to her and left them. I don't think she should be given the chance again. After all, she has done this is her third time. She should move aside and somebody will take over. That is my stake this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Yakubu, for calling from Wale Wale with those thoughts. And he obviously has a thinking on this political issue. Sarah Adjosafo, you can call in and share your thoughts on everything from Galamsey to the Sarah Adjosafo situation to the November 4 election awaiting the members or those aspirants for the NDC. You could also share your thoughts on this, something I'm going to be sharing with you this morning. Ghana's exchange rate loss of nearly 40% in a year, highest in Africa. That's according to the World Bank. Our exchange rate loss, about 40%. Xavier is on the line. Xavier, let's do this quickly. Xavier from Sogakope, so we start with the Daily Graphic. Xavier, good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin. Hope you are doing well.
I am well, pleased, by God's grace. How about you, sir?
I'm fine.
Right. Go straight ahead.
Mr. Gaspo, I want to speak about ECG.
ECG?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, ECG, for some time now, they are being in the news, and then all of a sudden, they are not in the news again. But there is something they are doing which I think the whole public is not aware. Now, we those on postpaid meters, they don't come and read the meters again. They don't read it. They will just give you estimated bill, a huge sum of money they will put there, and they are expecting you to come and pay. When you go and pay part, then they will come and disconnect you that you are owing. That is what they are doing now, and most of Ghanaians are not aware that that is what ECG is doing. When you get to their office, that they should rectify, they will tell you they are having issues with their app and this and this and this, and they continue. Since January this year till now, I have not received any actual bills. All the bills estimated, and bills
so they never, within this period, they've never come to read your meter, but somehow they bring you a bill.
All the bills I get are estimated. So it means they don't come to read it. Because if they read it, they should be giving me estimated all the time. And they will give you bills that I used to pay like 200 cedis, 150. Now they will give you 1,000, 700, 800 cedis. And they're expecting me to pay.
But Xavier, while I understand you and I understand your plight, I am on that side of things. You also realize that utility prices, the tariffs have gone up a number of times. So your bill wouldn't necessarily be what it used to be.
Exactly.
You know that, right?
Yes, it's true. But what they are giving is not realistic, Benjamin. Mr. Kako, they increased electricity bill, that was 30 something, 31 point something %, somewhere February or March this year, then another that. It's not even up to 100%. So if I used to pay, let's say 200 cedis, and assuming that the total increment as of now is 100%, they have to be paying like 400. But now they'll bring bills like 1,700, 800. You see, that is the issue.
That's a start.
I'm very much aware of the situation, but what they are doing, they are not reading the meters again. And so you should call them and let them come to answer this thing. Why they are doing that to the whole public? That they will not read the meters, then they will be giving estimated bills for some time, since January this year till now, and then they will be doing that. Then they will come and be discouraging people innocently.
Xavier, thank you so much for calling us all the way from Sogakope. We appreciate your call, and it's something that we've actually been working on. Let me tell you something. Last week, and I am a prepaid user, so you pay as you use. And there were challenges. I wanted to top up. I had actually taken my eye off the ball for just a brief period, and I had to top up. I was left with just a few CDs on my prepaid meter. I tried because I have the gadget, so it's very easy to pay with mobile money. Nothing would work. There were problems. I called the Roman Ridge office. They got back to me. The problem couldn't be resolved. They said I had to wait. Everything was tried. Nothing worked. The following day was a Saturday. I went to their office. They work on Saturdays. Unfortunately, that Saturday it didn't appear they were working. It appeared they had a funeral or something, and they had, moved off. So I went to a vendor, if that is not working, let me pay manually to a vendor, and then when they rectify the issue, hopefully my money will be given back to me, because there's a process on the app. There too, the network was down. So it was something that I had tabled for this week, and it's important that you've brought this up. We'll be looking into these activities. We support ECG with the drive to mop up funds and ensure that those who aren't paying are actually paying their bills. But ECG, sometimes, your systems and all of that. Imagine that. So if my light had gone off, all the discomfort, my fridge, things getting spoiled, the heat and everything, you want me to bear it because of what? You've installed a prepaid meter for me. I have the money to pay for the electricity, yet I can't enjoy it. These are some of the circumstances, and they make no sense. The Daily Graphic this morning: special task force deployed to protect mining companies. Ghana 4, I want you to really, there's a page I'm on WhatsApp, and someone had some drone shots of our river bodies in Ghana. And recently our president was where? Saying that Galamsey was what? Hey! I mean, if you look at our water bodies, now it's getting into the sea. Now it's even it's starting to pollute the Volta. Because from up north, the black Volta is starting to pollute the Volta. Let me just read the story. Alhaj, please just hold on for me. Let me read the story briefly so you can react to it. So, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has deployed a special task force of police officers to protect large-scale mining companies from invasion by illegal miners. The ministry has also contacted the Ministries of National Security and Defense to deploy the military on special occasions to tackle illegal mining activities at legal mining concessions when the need arises. The special task force will patrol large-scale mining concessions to prevent illegal miners from trespassing. That's what the sector minister says. So this is another angle. We've seen stories where, legal outfits when it comes to mining have had their concessions encroached upon by illegal miners. That is what they're tackling. But I'm saying the wider problem of Galamsey, it is beating us black and blue. And because we shouldn't even be thinking about now. Norway's fund is thinking about how many decades into the future generations. We are here. Even what the future will come and inherit, we are destroying it. Alhaj, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Alhaj, I'd like to know your name.
I'm Alhaj Premier, but my real name is Salifu.
Okay. Alhaj Salifu. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Upper West Region.
Thank you for calling. You remind me of our Upper West Regional correspondent, Rafiq Salam. He would go, wow.
Salam. That's my grandfather.
That's your grandfather. What do you have to share with us this morning?
Thank you very much. It's like you have said a lot. And because I'll just tackle maybe one or two. Just said something about a Galamsey. And I think this Galamsey issue is something that is affecting us a lot, but it's like we are not realizing it today, just like you mentioned. We always feel the negative impact tomorrow, that is our upcoming generation. But just like down south days, we are realizing it how some children have been born with some parts of their body.
Yeah, deformities.
Yes. And definitely, we don't even know the upcoming effects that will be worse than this. And then even if you come to the Upper West here, you know, we are in an agrarian community. We are in a farming community. But if you go to some of the communities now, how to even get land to farm is very difficult. So that is an effect. So we need to come to a time that we even have the zeal to farm, we have the fertilizer to farm, but there won't be land for us to farm. So I would advise that our leaders shouldn't just look at the money, they should look at our future.
Right.
If we even come to a time that we have the money, but we can't even get land to farm, so meaning you have the money, you can't even get food to buy.
Yeah.
That is an effect.
Yeah.
So
it may get to the point where you have the money, you can't even get water to buy. You may have to import
because
water.
There was a time that we have been even applauding the government for being taking good care of the water. But today it's like we are going back to the same situation that we were before this government came. But I'll only talk something on this aggressive issue.
All right, briefly please, because of time.
Thank you very much. Because it's like politicians are now taking the political force as a business, not service. They are rather taking it as maybe they only want to get money from it, but not to save their followers. So I think that Joseph is now apologizing because he wants another term to go to Parliament.
Right.
So I would say that no, he's not the only woman there. We have several women there. If you want a woman to represent them, we have a woman there. So they select a different person that will respect the rules and regulations of the Parliament.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Alhaj, for calling and sharing your thoughts. I like the way you say we. So I'm sure you're a member of the NPP. You're saying that, of course, we can do much better. Of course, this is the biggest constituency in the country. Take away even the Banta mayors and the rest. The biggest you can find. So it is of major consequence. And it has predominantly been for the New Patriotic Party. Well, new fishing canoes banned. That's still on the Daily Graphic newspaper. And tied to that, boat accident, 7 fishermen missing at Ada. There's also Akratama motorway toll booths decommissioning underway. Let me quickly get to page 13 and take a swipe of that power. There's also this bit about lack of women empowerment, stagnating progress. You can check out that story on page 7. Do we have Benjamin on the line?
Yes, Mr. Kapu.
Benjamin, do me a favor. Just stick with me for 15 seconds. I'll come to you shortly. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Akratama motorway toll booths decommissioning underway, and the Ghana Highway Authority has partially decommissioned the toll booths on the Akratama motorway. The decommissioning involved the pulling down of the original booths that sit on the motorway to pave the way for easy flow of traffic. Officials have since opened some of the decommissioned lanes to traffic, with the metal canopies that cover the toll booths expected to be removed in subsequent days. And just quickly, a ban has been placed on the registration of new canoes for artisanal fishing for the next 3 years. This follows the implementation of a 3-year moratorium on new artisanal canoe entry to take effect from October the 1st, 2023 to September the 30th, 2026. For the artisanal sector, of course, in there, Mavis Hawakumsin. I know I've taken more than 15 seconds. My apologies. Ben, your thoughts?
Mr. Kapu, thank you. I want to raise a concern, a growing concern about the way drivers in Ghana behave, that is commercial drivers. What happens is, I live at Pokwase, and every morning when passengers board cars, they take the actual fares that are supposed to be taken. That is the fares that the GPLT gives them to take from the passengers. Now, in the evening, when you are coming back from work, they all decide to double the actual price of the fares. I live in Pokwase. In the morning, they take 5 cedis, 50 pesos. And in the evening, when you are coming, they take 10 cedis from everybody to Pokwase. Now, what happens is, a few months ago, they were asked to reduce the fares. and they told the whole Ghana that they are not going to do so because of the increment of fuel prices. We agreed. Instead of them taking the actual fares, they have decided to multiply the fare by 2 every evening.
Right.
When you come and see the struggles people go through, including older men and women, pregnant women, and people that are disabled, we all struggle for the same car at the same fare, double price, every evening. And every time I try to join a car, I just have to wait for everybody to go, and then I join a car. Because I can't be struggling with these older men and women and these pregnant women. At the same time, they need to pay that amount that is not supposed to be taken from them. Something happened 3 weeks ago. I had to struggle with a policeman. We sat in the same car, and the mate took us 10 cities to Pukwase. He paid and never complained. A policeman in uniform.
Wow.
And I was like, the one that is supposed to maintain law and order and ask questions and try to put things in order, rather complied with what was going on. So this morning, I intended calling to raise your attention on that.
Thank you. That's a pathetic issue you've brought to the fore. You've brought to bear, and we're grateful that you've called to highlight it. I know exactly whom to speak to on this matter, so we can, get some action. Hopefully, thank you for calling. Let's get into other stories. I'm always glad when I hear of stories like this, and I laud the Rebecca Foundation. Of course, I'm talking about Rebecca Akufo-Addo. Not everything is negative, and she's been doing some wonderful things, from that school in Mamobi to the many projects she's been working on, hospitals, the cancer unit, I believe the children's cancer, pediatric cancer, bit. She supports that as well, and I think that is laudable. Rebecca Foundation, ASR Africa, built library for Osenase. Now, the Osenase community in the Lower West Achim municipality in the eastern region now has a library, finally. And this has been made possible by the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, with support from the Abdel Samad Rabiu Africa Initiative. It is a part of the Rebecca Foundation's Learning to Read, Reading to Learn initiative. Okay. So, Barrick, I know you're on the line. Just hold for me. Let me do something from the Daily Guide newspaper. The Daily Guide talks about Adwa Safo, the 7 missing in Adar boat disaster, and the Fisheries Ministry banning new canoes. So let me just do those 2 quick stories and come to you briefly, sir. So this one. 7 fishermen are still missing after 2 fishing boats sank yesterday off the coast of Adar in the Greater Accra region. Reports said the fishermen were trying to navigate into the Volta River when the accident happened. The National Disaster Management Organization and Ghana Navy officials quickly launched the coordinated search and rescue effort to identify and recover the missing fishermen. The rescuers were still searching for survivors at sea and along the shoreline at the time of filing this report. And we don't have any further updates as of now on that situation. But quickly, I'm sure this will interest you, sir. Government reopens domestic debt exchange program. Individuals who did not sign up for the initial debt restructuring exercise have another opportunity as the government reopens the domestic debt exchange program. In this latest move, the government is inviting holders of its bonds, including ESLA PLC and Dache Trust PLC, for participation. Okay. I'm listening to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Could you please speak up a little for me?
Please, but sorry for my English, but after the education, I didn't attend the school. So I'm begging you for my English. But my problem is about our engineers in Ghana or in Africa. The way this containers are opening their back doors and then the water is definite. But I thought our engineers think that the way they will do so that water cannot be, and they can be opening it and then the pressure will be too much. At least they should do it in the model when the thing is full and get a little drop of water in that camp, then it will flow. Simple. And then second, the way we construct our gutters in Ghana, especially the low areas. But let's take Odo River as an example. When you look at the gutter behind Circle, what choke is sand, not rubber, not stones, but it's sand, full of sand. It's full of sand. You see, so it means our gutters are low. At the low areas, instead of they should weigh it and then the high areas so that they will do the gutters. When the water is coming, then the sand will be remaining. So that the water will enter inside the gutter. But because it's low, it will wash all the sand inside the gutter. At the end, the sand will enter inside the rivers, then the rivers will be full of sand. So when it is dry season, you see that the place will be dry. Because sand has occupied this in the river. So at least our engineers to think the low areas is to raise the gutter so that when the water will enter inside the gutter, then the sand will remain.
Okay. Thank you.
So if not, we'll always be running losses.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I think that's the last one we can take so we can wrap this segment. On the back page of the Daily Guide, Dogbe Dad turns chief. We're talking about Paul Kofi Dogbe, the trainer, well, maybe ex-trainer of Ghanaian world title winning boxing ace, Dogbe, as we know him, and the Royal Storm. He has officially begun a reign as head of the Klevia clan of Anglon in the Volta region following his installation as Togbi Bedu or Badu, the fourth of Anyako, a few days ago. That's on the back page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Let me just do the final newspaper as we leave. Bank of Ghana remains prudent, strong and functioning efficiently. Oforiata says so. There's AMA unveils logo to kickstart 125th anniversary celebration. Excited farmers hail government, say significant new cocoa price is motivation to increase production. I'll be telling you a bit more about that in my blunt thoughts today. Remember, the cloak of corruption and the frock of populism undressing the politicians. This morning, I'll undress them for you, so you get to see beyond what they tell you. Then there's also 5 illegal miners jailed 5 years each. That's the last story I'll do. And 5 men, and this is a good one, okay? This is what we want to see. 5 men have been sentenced to 5 years in prison each for engaging in illegal mining. The 5, Richard Kumase, Fiamahe, Jerry John, Koblevi Kumase, Daniel Apenu, and Matthew Geddy were residing at Ankobra near Prestia in the Western region. The facts of the case indicate that on August 17, 2021, the assemblyman for the Heman electoral area, together with some opinion leaders, got wind that the 5 accused had gone to mine with their dredging machines in the Ankobra River. So there was a tip-off followed upon, and then they were apprehended. My only problem, 2021. We're in 2023. Let me quickly acknowledge a few of you who sent in messages. Many of you sent in, but this one says, Dakpo Raymond, Ben, what the caller said about ECG postpaid meters is the reality. Here in Agoti Mekpetwe, the ordeal is the same. Estimated bills, is it the Volta region? Is that what is happening there? I mean, I would love to hear from you in subsequent segments. If you are in different parts of the Volta region, and this is the same thing, we have to have a conversation with the ECG on those matters. And then Hudu Abubakar Sadiq says, good morning, Ben. Please, the MPP delegates in Dome Kwabenya, together with their electors, shouldn't entertain this comeback tactics from Adjoasaf. All right, thank you very much. I just want to quickly acknowledge this. Someone sewed this beautiful shirt for me. I just saw me on TV without even taking my measurements, and I felt it was only fitting to give her credit. Aram Adjo Enchidua, all the way in Sunyani, and you managed to get it to me. Sir Signature Designs, that is your outfit, Sir Signature Designs. You can find them in Sunyani, opposite the post office, roundabout adjacent ADB. The number to call 0244-055-066, 0244-055-066. If you find yourself in Sunyani, reach out to her. She's fitted me and made me look good this morning. This segment was brought to you, as always, by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And here's what they're offering you. If you're a man, my G, my guy, check your prostate. Don't say I'm waiting till I'm 50. By that time, I'm sure they do nya. Check out your prostate. If you're a woman, do you know your fertility status? That's why you ought to make your way to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22. Tichiman Hanso and Esiaman Zima. Their call lines. Pick up your phone. Give them a call. 0244-867-0822. 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. This morning, I want to send shouts to my partner in crime who would usually be here with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. Good morning to you, boss. He's my boss. He's my brother from another mother. Sam, a very good morning to you and the family. Now, today happens to be the first anniversary of Prime Take. It's been going on for 1 full year, 1 full circle. Now, my colleague, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, speaks on this installment, on this edition, to George Efrie, GFA presidential hopeful. The conversation was on Tuesday before his disqualification on Thursday. He has appealed the decision of the Elections Committee, which means he still has some hope of getting his name on the ballot sheet. That is up next. Prime Take on the AM Show.
It is another special moment here on Prime Take as we speak to a man who has shown so much love when it comes to football, a man who has invested his energy, his time, his resources into football. Rose, when he came to the governance of football as the vice president of the Ghana Football Association, also became a management committee chairman of the senior national team, the Black Stars. Well, he contested for the position of president of the football governing body in 2019. It never went his way, and as you recall vividly, in the second round, after the election or the results were counted, there was a third round, but he decided that at this point, let me throw in the towel and hand over power to Keto Kreku to be voted president of the Ghana Football Association. And again, the following day, the world or the media space saw a video of him congratulating the GFA president, the then elect GFA president, which is Keto Kreku. Now he's throwing his hat again into the race for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association. I guess by now, you have an idea about the person I'm talking about. He is George Efrie. He's my guest tonight on Prime Take. Mr. George, thank you very much for your time.
Muftau, thank you, thank you.
You look good.
Oh, you look good too.
I like the cap and the glasses.
Ah, thank you, thank you.
What is the secret?
Well, I'm a fashion flick person. Yes, if you love fashion sometimes, you want to change your looks, but it's good to stay healthy. Being a fashion freak, it's good, but then it's good to stay healthy, and then you leave the rest to the world to judge you how they see you.
So if you were not into football, what would you have been doing?
Well, apart from football, I love cars. I've been involved with cars, automobile in a different aspect. And I also love farming. I'm a village boy. Both sides of my family, from the mother side, the father side, my great-great-grandfathers were fishermen and all that. And so, and my mom's side, I see my great-grandmother and my grandmother, they were farmers. I mean, they were cocoa farmers.
Okay.
And so I see myself, I see the future of Africa, that we need to invest in farming. I think that if you had the opportunity to travel out of this country and you see how nations have developed, if you specifically I want to talk about Japan, US, Canada, and then you have to know that as a young man or as any person who come from a background of some farmers, you need to take farming seriously, because look, we are blessed, this country, we are blessed to have natural lands. I mean, lands that are fertile to grow all sort of crops and fruits for our well-being. And so I think that I love to go into serious farming. I'm doing it already,
Okay.
but I think that I can do more. I'm trying to woo some investors into the country and to go into serious farming.
When you say you are from, you're a village boy, what village are you from?
I'm somehow Accra Adan boy when it comes to, I'm a Gandangwe boy,
Okay.
yeah. And then on the other side too, I'm the Achim, Ashanti and Asante Achim boy.
How?
Yeah, you know, the history shows where my great grandparents migrated from in a village called Jimechi.
Okay.
Within the Ashanti regions.
Okay.
And most of them settles in Achim and then Asante Achim lands.
Oh, okay.
So they migrated first, settled in Agogo,
Okay.
Bompata, Cochrane Tumi, and then Nkwetia. These were the areas, Usino, these were the areas where the family, from the other side of my family. And then from here, it's purely between the Greater Accra. So it's just Accra and Adan.
So where were you born?
Okay, so I was born in Accra.
Then you're an Accra boy. So you're not from a village?
No, but I grew up partly in some villages. Some villages, yes. I grew up partly in some villages, but sometimes, yeah, because the story was told. Sometimes I need to say this. The story was told that my grandmother, my mother, to be honest with you, my mother, my father attended Butter Training College.
Oh, okay.
And met my mom, a young lady, and impregnated her and ran away.
Oh God.
That's if that was serve the audience, that's me. That's me.
So, do you know your father?
Oh yeah, I was living with my father in Akosobu.
That's what after running away he came back.
Oh, yeah, I have to go look for him.
So how did you find him?
Oh, it's easy because you know in this country, once your dad has classmates, it's easy.
You will track.
So one day, yes, I had to chase my mom and say, "You have to take me go look for that man." And my mom took me to a town near Pom. If I don't know whether you know where the Akosomo.
Okay.
When you're going to Akosomo, it's a town called Pom. So that's where my father's father had a house there.
Oh, okay.
And so we went there. We found my grandmother, and my grandmother said, "Your father is a young teacher somewhere at Akosomo."
Okay.
So that's we had to trace my dad. And then we met my dad. He was a very handsome man.
At what age was he?
I was maybe class 2, class 3.
Okay.
And I saw the man, very nice man. And then if you know Akosomo very well, I mean the staff of VRA then, they lives in bungalows and all that. So I went with his brother. And his brother was a tutor at Akwamuman Secondary School.
Oh, okay.
So he took me to the house, and my dad had gone to fishing as a teacher. Yeah.
He was teaching and then
he would go to the Akosomo Dam site to do fishing. And sometimes you do fishing, bring fish back home and all that. So we got there and he was not there. And then he had a mango tree behind his house. So because the brother had the key to his bungalow, he opened and then I entered. And then I just saw ripe mangoes and climbed the tree and started.
You're already homeboy.
Yeah, and then the man came and said, "Hey, I throw me mango piano." Then the brother had just folded his arms and said, "I call what to baby and you have run away." So that's the boy there. So
you've been a firebrand for a long time.
So that was it. And then he saw me and he was like, "Hey, Kwesi." I mean, that was
Wow.
Yeah, that's me.
So how would you describe your childhood beginning?
It was okay because I mean I had some great grandparents, had some good family. My uncle, one of my uncles was Air Force pilot. Two of my uncles were both Air Force pilots.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they were Air Force pilots, and so it was easy. And my mom Uli's sister then was also living in the UK with her husband.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, we enjoyed life as kids. It was a bit rough and tough, but we had some very decent upbringing, very decent one.
And I'm sure that decent upbringing created an some kind of opportunities for you, right?
Oh yes, I mean, those of us who are more than 50 years, those of us who are more than 50 years,
yeah.
If you know the culture that existed in Ghana these days, you see, you are being guided how to grow up. There was nothing like a free life where, if you are lucky to come from a home like mine, where both parents, my mom was a teacher, my dad was a teacher, later became a politician. My father was once the CPP General Secretary for Sujaman, later became CPP Secretary for, yes, became CPP Secretary for Eastern Region. He became the head of Vigilante. You heard of the Vigilante? Yeah, became the head of Vigilante. He was a very nice man. Anybody who know my father will tell you that he was a very, very nice man. And so my mom was MPP woman organizer. And you know, both
then you were born into a political home.
Yeah. The CPPs later, my grandmother, my father's mother's sister was top NDC woman, head of the women something, and so both sides of my family, my dad's side was in the CPP NDC, my mom's side was in the MPP, and so I saw them doing their own thing, and as a young man, and I was a different person.
Oh, so if you are a politician, is it? I can
understand
how you got into politics.
I was born into a political family, no doubt about that. I was, both sides of my family, each sides have serious political lineage into the two big political parties in this country.
How would you describe your educational journey then?
Well, initially it was smooth. But along the line, maybe after polytechnic education, I felt that this country was not meant for me. I see myself as someone who really wanted to make it in life, and I felt the pace of life in Ghana is not the one that I want to. I felt that I must go out there to see what is in stock for me. That is how come in my early ages I traveled out of this country to live in Japan. A lot of people don't know that my uncle's best friend, one of my uncles who was an Air Force pilot, in fact he was the first Ghanaian to bring private airlines to this country called Pioneer Airlines. My uncle, one who passed, the one who had a plane crash, was, if you are still young, I mean, back in the days, you remember there was a story of a Ghanaian pilot, Air Force pilot who had a plane crash on the Ghana-Togo border. One of them was my uncle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so initially everything was okay, but I wanted to take something different. So maybe along the line I had to abandon education and to do some hustling life, and then later to upgrade myself to the way you see me today.
And why Japan?
Okay, so I had uncles and friends who said, Charlie, the place is good, is this and that. I've heard stories of it. And so I said, well, why not try it? So let's give it a try. But it wasn't a place that I enjoyed initially. I went to Japan, spent like less than 4 years, and then came back, lived for a while, and then went back again. So when one of the former ambassadors.
Okay.
I just want to remember the name. Became the ambassador. He happens to be an uncle's very good friend.
Oh, okay.
And then he felt that he could even offer me a position to serve at the embassy. But at that time, I wasn't really for it. And so I wanted to do my own thing. And so I went straight into business. I went straight into having doing my own thing, because I've then been able to live for a while, make some friends, build some contacts, and I realized that there was a lot that I could do in that society.
Oh, okay.
So I left that big opportunity to serve for my country and all that, to do my own business, and that was what kept me in Japan for a while before I returned back again. But during that period, there wasn't a single time that I stayed like one whole year without visiting Ghana.
Oh, okay.
About 3-4 months I'm in Ghana, back again 3-4 months I'm in Ghana. Yes. I was one of the first Ghanaians who started doing business from Ghana to Japan. You know, early days, the early day Ghanaian residents in Japan were mostly hustlers. There were people who were working, there were teachers, there were lecturers, there were others, qualified professionals who were doing their own thing. But then the other few Ghanaians that had gone on pure hustling, working in the factories and all that, were staying and working. It took few of us to take the bold initiative, and with thanks to President Kufuor, who offered that opportunity. It took President Kufuor to say that, look, there are opportunities for guys, young guys like you who have stayed in this country to make money, to return back home to invest. That's how come you go to East Legon, you find guys like Anjehe Hotel, Irata Hotel, Mensvik Hotel, MNJ. These are all guys who decided that having stayed in Japan, having worked and having made money, we want to return back home and invest. So most of them invested in the hospitality business. Some went into real estate. Like my good self, I also chose the real estate business. You understand? I did automobile for a while, and then later I felt that let me go into the real estate business. We did it in a very small scale. But some of my friends like Angie Hill and Irata and Mensvik, they did it in big, large scale. They own lot of big houses. So
those the hotels, most of the hotels in East Legon, they are your parties.
Yeah, they are my body.
Oh, I see. But why didn't you also go to the hospitality side?
Well, we cannot not do the same thing. See, my passion for football. That's how come sometimes when we meet, they keep laughing at me because this gonna go here and go for mine and all that. You see, we can all not have the same kind of, you understand? Some must do something differently. And for me, my passion was football. I've always developed that passion, great passion for football.
Did you play football?
Well, not to
the amateur level, or you played it as a pastime?
Oh no, we played football, but not to that level where you wanted to see some of us. But along the line, my interest was to be an agent, a football agent.
Oh, okay.
I started with players like Kenneth Sapong, the late Sumandazi, and a few others I wanted to try. In fact, at the point I wanted to even manage Aziz Ansah.
Oh, okay. From Kotoko right now?
Yeah, from Kotoko. I wanted to manage him. I remember that when Dr. Kwambani interviewed him at Adum. I accompanied him to that famous interview. I think when he won the best defender of the year or something. He was playing for Kumasi. So my passion was purely for football. So even though I was into business and I was doing my own business, I was into automobile and all that, my pure passion was football.
And considering the fact that you were born into a political home, why didn't you follow the footsteps of your mother, your father, your uncles, but you went to football?
Well,
or you are still a politician?
At the point, I still have politics in me, but I'm still doing football politics. At the point I was contemplating. Let me be fair. I was contemplating going into serious politics, mainstream multi-party politics. I've been considering it, and maybe, who knows, I still have all that interest.
You should have the interest.
Because, you see, Muftau, somebody must effect a change. That's my belief. Somebody somehow must effect a change in this country. Muftau, in football, we are not fortunate. Maybe in our early days, we saw the business aspect, but it was the passion to help Ghana football. That was maybe our mistake. Unlike today, people think that, hey, let's make money. That was our mistake. Our mistake was that we should help the society. We should help grow the sport in this country. That was our interest.
At what point exactly did you get into football?
Early 2000, 2001, 2002. Early 2000. I mean, when I want to talk about mainstream, 2000, 2001, 2002. Okay, so in 1996, 27 years ago, Ghana qualified for the Atlanta Olympics.
Yes.
And Ghana camped in Japan, proud to go into Atlanta.
Okay.
So the Ghana Olympic team traveled to Japan to play the Japan Olympic team before they played to
Atlanta for the competition.
I was then living in Japan. And my passion drove me straight to the team. I went to the team hotel. I met them. And players like Augustine Ahimfo, Joe Ado, Simon Ado, Afododu, now former captain C.K. Akono, Osei Kofuo. These were players that were my friends. I met them and took them around, did some big shopping for them. And then I remember very well that even in 1996, I went to the electronic hub of Japan, a place called Akihabara. Akihabara in Tokyo is the electronic hub where all the electronics that you can think of. Or if you are a foreigner and you walk to Tokyo and you want to buy any electronic to your country, that's where you can have the 220 voltage, because mostly, so it's electronic hub. I drove to the Akihabara and picked 3 players of the national team and bought Seiko watches, 10 for them. Back in 1996.
You were rich, or you are so rich?
No, sometimes it's not about how much you have in your bank account or how much you have on you. It's about, I don't know whether you have followed football back in the days. The people who love football, who were spending money with football, were not doing it to get, because they are so rich and they want to part. They are moved by the love of the sport to spend on footballers. I can count, look, in my early upbringing in following football in Ghana, and I will want to talk about Accra Great Olympics, and I want to talk about Kumasi Asante Kotoko. In Kumasi Asante Kotoko, you had people like the man who, if you have heard of Esujaman, Esujaman, the man who deals in plywood and TNG and all that. I saw that man, Kujo, and those days he would spend on players like nobody's business. Osei Kwame Despite spends on players like nobody's business. There was a man who used to work for Gassem, it's called Mr. Edu. They would give players money, the Uforini Akons, the Yaobewas, and they were just spending on players.
Generous.
So we copied from the love that we had for players. We copied that from our older seniors, about our seniors. And then we also developed that, because when I was growing up and I saw that, and I was in Japan, and the national team, the Ghana Olympic team, had visited Japan, and me going to their team hotel, taking pictures with them and moving around with them, I wanted to show them that, hey, Charlie, need to have that kind of spirit in me.
You've come to my home.
Let me tell you, I gave each one of the 23 players a Pele jeans. Each one of them. Each one of them. Each one of the 23 players. Each one of them. Each one of them.
Was that your initiation into football?
It wasn't, it was just a passion and a love I have for
yeah,
it.
so but having done that, you probably would have thought, okay, why not get into India and then just do it at a bigger scale?
You see, even when I became an executive committee member, the era when Nana Budu, Alhaji Raji were under 17 management members. Yeah. The chairman was Mr. Wanyamiche, former chairman of the Ghana Football Association. Yeah. He was the chairman of the national under 17 management team. Some of the members were Obed Nanan Ketia, Chelsea boss, Alhaji Raji, Nana Budu. They were members of the under 17 management team. They took the national under 17 team to Japan for a preparation towards the under 17 World Cup in 2007 in Korea. Yeah. So a preparation to go to the World Cup in Korea.
I remember.
They camped in Japan. I flew from here, went to Japan, got a Japanese friend of mine to spend on the team with cash and Seiko watches for the entire team. Entire team. The entire team. When the team left Japan to Korea, I followed the team to Korea. There was a match between Brazil. There was an 8-nation tournament prior to the main World Cup. And Ghana played Brazil. I drove to the team hotel. They had just played, I think, Haiti. They had just played Haiti or Brazil. And I saw the players in bathroom sandals. The national under 17 team was in a bathroom sandal, all of them. This one is wearing charawate, this one is wearing that, that one is wearing that one is wearing that. And we were being kitted by Puma. So they were in their Puma house where Puma, but with they had no uniformed slippers. Yeah. I drove to Itaewon, a place in Korea called Itaewon Night Market, and bought a Puma sneaker for the entire team. I was not a member of the team. I had just traveled to visit them. These are things I have done for teams. National team of Ghana.
But I also recall that during your club days, was it Gamba All Blacks, right? A video of you surfaced many years ago where you were like, people said I couldn't do it, I've done it when you qualified. I remember all that. Talk us through the journey of you getting into club football and subsequently into getting to leadership position at the FA.
All Blacks will return to the Premiership and he scores! Swindle Blacks are back into their league division. They've had their hopes totally shattered on the day. Lighted and then savoring the moment. It's absolutely...
Many people have said so many things about this team that All Blacks can never come. There are so many goals, there are so many things against this team, but I was ready to prove a point that a young man like me can bring this team back, and I assure everybody, we are not going back. We are back for good.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Okay, so this is how it started. I had a friend living in Sweden who approached me that the good old All Blacks has gone down, deep down to the lower divisions. After Georgido, the late Georgido, George Eduse Poku had left the team. And the team has sunk deep like way down to like Division 2 levels. This was a Premier Division club. Team that has, I think, won the FA Cup by then. With players like Baba Amando and co. So he said, George, we have seen your passion for football. We think that you can help revive and bring the team back to its rightful position. Initially, I wasn't interested because my passion then was to manage players. My passion was to just help players get opportunities into the international footballing world. But along the line, the pressure was coming. And as a young man who had returned from Japan with some cash in my bank account, the guys would come to me, and when they see the way I would spread them, and they say, Charlie, this we must get him to Sweden at all costs. So I accepted the challenge, went, realized that yes, the team was in a Division 2, was a Division 2 club. And I felt like, well, let me give it a try. So right away, I decided to put certain things in place, make sure that they are well kitted, get them team bars, put them into a professional clubhouse and all that. I started to turn things around. We tried to qualify from the Central Region Division 2. In my first year, we qualified for the finals of the Central Region Division 2. We played against Shakaufo, a team called Shakaufo. We lost in the final. They beat us 4-2. We couldn't qualify. The following year, I was to do it again. Then someone told me there's a team in the secondary Takoradi environs called Bafana Bafana. And the owner, George Phobia, a popular known Phobia supporter, said he wants to sell the team Bafana Bafana. So then I look at the cost of playing in the Division 2 again as against buying the slot of Bafana Bafana, which was in the same zone, Zone 2.
Okay.
Then I found it prudent, cheaper, less cost to buy the slot, and then so that's how come we bought the slot of Bafana Bafana, and then we changed the name to Gamba All Blacks.
Okay.
So we played the first year, we couldn't qualify, but the second year I made a promise to the people of Sweden that this year I'm taking the team to Premier. We did our best, but unfortunately we came third. That was the old format where you play sub-middle league, and then so then the third team from the Premier Division will play a playoff.
Yeah.
So we had to do a playoff for Okwawu United. And if you know the history of Okwawu United, they have just gone on relegation, but then they were the third from bottom. So they had to play the third place from the Super Middle League team, and that was All Blacks. So we went into this game, but prior to that game, there were a lot of permutations. There were a lot of, how is All Blacks going to beat Okwawu? Okwawu United had all the big men in Ghana football then. Because Okwawu, if you know, when we say Okwawu United,
the likes of
in this country, one of the most industrious people in this country are the Okwawus.
Yeah, it's not.
We share a border. So,
you know, is it Conte in Iraq here?
He's the Conte, yes, he's the Conte of Impriso.
Yeah.
Nana. And then he was very influential when you talk of GFA. Not only him, Tim Dako.
Yeah.
The then Deputy General Secretary Technical. So all of them, you hear the names, Odro Nyako, the longest boss secretary. So you hear the name and say, Charlie, this is a Herculean task. I don't see how we're going to surmount this challenge. All Blacks. Yeah. All Blacks was me, Isaac Kumsing, and James Nunu. These were the three musketeers running around trying to qualify ahead of this. And if you look at even the competition itself, this is a Premier Division.
Yeah.
And we are a Division 2 club or a Division 1 club trying to. So comparatively, there was no way we could summon such a challenge. But then, in football, everything is planning, and everything, it's the way you strategize. And so the night before we met, we designed the plot, we planned everything. Thankfully and by God's grace, the game went into a penalty shootout. And as destiny may have it, Ishmael Yate kicked the last penalty kick, and we qualified to Premier. And so it was the joy and the work we had put in place, and that was what you saw.
When you were speaking to Kobraya Boy, the good old Kobraya Boy, that was quite an interesting one.
Yes.
And then you went to...
And the Kobraya Boy himself,
oh, really?
Of course,
Kobraya is from. I see, yeah.
You see, the big man, look, Kempon, all the big men you can think of in football, they are all football. Because they are my friends. My own dada and so. All of them. Top. They are very industrious. And so I didn't see how I was going to scale past that.
So from the club level, how then did you rope yourself into the football politics?
Okay, so you see, sometimes your exploits gives you out. The way you endeared yourself among your peers and your colleagues, it's when there are positions available and you want to vie for it. People look at what you've been able to achieve, what you've been able to bring on board. So at that time, in the 205, when we were moving from the old order to the new order, it became obvious that if they were looking for a certain, we were looking for a delegate from Zone 2, you can't go past Georgia Free. There was no way, because within the Zone 2 clubs, within the Central Region football, I had actually demonstrated my capabilities. I've demonstrated from the Regional Football Association, I've demonstrated from clubs within my zone that yes, if you need someone to represent you, this is a man who could go onto the committee and speak his mind. This is the man who could go onto the committee and serve the interests of the zone. So right away in fact, it will surprise you to know that in that election, out of the 48 Premier Division 1 clubs, I think I had about 44.
Wow.
Yes, only 4 clubs to vote for me. Subsequently, 4 years later, I had 40 clubs voting for me. I think between me and Pap, say 40 and 39. So those times, it was about what the man brings on board.
So why did you decide to even contest in the first place?
Well, it was a calling. I felt that I could impact my knowledge of what I've been able to see around and what I've also been able to learn from the foreign world. I thought that a lot need to change. A lot need to change. I felt that our football was still in the dark ages when I came back from Japan, knowing where I was coming from and knowing what I see, the development of football and all that. I felt that our football, because look, I would drive to Cape Coast Sports Stadium and placards lined up where the substitution board. You take number 1 and take number 2 and join together, and that's number 2. I say, why can't we be doing this in the 21st century? I mean, and this is fact.
Did you make the impact you thought you could?
Yeah, of course, I changed a lot of things. You know, at one point I bought substitution boards from Korea, gave it to the FA and asked them, gave them an invoice and say, when you have money, just pay me. Centers that were not owned by National Sports Authority, I gave them for free. Dansoma free, Obuasi Ashgood free. One other venue where the league centers, the Premier League centers, I gave them for free. You can ask Mr. Kujofiano. Free. I felt that no, in the 21st century we cannot be using substitution boards where Obi Krediaba could have one person. No.
You write chalk at the back.
Yeah, chalk. It was there.
I remember some of all these things. Yeah, they were quite interesting more. But George Freed, it's quite interesting that you rose to become the GFA vice president. How did you get there? How did Kwesi Chief repose so much confidence in you and said, this gentleman should be second in command? Because I do recall, prior to that, the GFA vice president was a position that people had to vie for, and you had to vote. But when people changed the statutes, you were the first person he appointed as his vice president.
I don't remember whether I was the first. I think I was the second. I think Frequency was also...
No, Frequency was voted. I remember.
No, it was Jordan that was voted. Fred was also appointed.
Okay, yeah, prior to 2014.
Fred was appointed. Yeah. Initially, those who vied for was Fred Papo. And Jordan Anagbla. And then Mr. Fred Crency was appointed. Then I think that everything.
You were appointed in 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
2015, yes. It was when we changed the statutes to give the power to the president to appoint. So it was the president acted within the statutes. He acted within the statutes. Now, maybe we wanted to use the Ghana system where the president appoints someone that he feels comfortable with. Yeah, but the truth remains that I didn't just get to the vice president by way of, I had actually worked my way to that point. Remember, I first contested in 2005 to become an executive committee member. Contested again to become re-elected to become an executive committee member. Now, remember we had an executive committee, the larger one, yes, and we have the emergency committee. So the emergency committee, in the previous ones, we also vote for the emergency committee.
Oh, okay.
So when the power was vested in the president to appoint, the first time he appointed was the Jordan Fred Crency era. Yeah. Remember that I was appointed an ESCO member. I became an ESCO member, EMCO member before vice president. So I rose through the ranks. ESCO, EMCO before vice president. And I believe that at the point, Mr. Nyantechi had saw my dedication, my loyalty, worked throughout. And that's why today I will sit and take credit for every successes under Mr. Nyantechi and take the blame for every failures, because I was part from day one to the end.
But okay, so you mentioned maybe Kwesi Nyantechi saw something and appointed you, but I do recall something interesting.
And remember that it is not just when the president appoints, it ends there. It must be accepted by the ESCO.
But is a
you nominate
choice?
No, if you appoint the person and the people don't like it, they will say, no, Mr. President, we don't want, bring another person. That's the law. It didn't say when you appoint, no.
He must nominate. Powerful to tell the GFA president?
Why not? Now, why not? Our ESCO was very solid, strong, moved out. Look at the members of the ESCO then. Look at the members. You know members. It's not good, it's not nice to be mentioning names, but you know members of the ESCO then. They were not just people who you stop them from speaking their mind. At least if you don't know anybody at all, you know Palmer.
If
you don't know anybody at all, you know Palmer.
Did you ever hear the story that there was a point that Nyantechi was told not to appoint you as his vice president?
Yes. Yes. In fact, there was a point where somebody letter to him, and the person had told him that if he appoints me within 1 year, he will die. Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, the person had said that I've gone to a juju man, and juju man had come to tell him that I had come to him, and so if he appoints me, he will die within 1 year.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for me to share my blunt thoughts with you. It's been an odd month or so since I have not come your way. I was on leave and I'm back. And today I've titled it The Cloak of Corruption and the Frock of Populism, Undressing Our Politicians. The Cloak of Corruption and the Frock of Populism, Undressing Our Politicians. Because that is what we're doing today, unmasking them. Let me take you down memory lane. The Black Man's Burden, a response to Kipling. Now, this came in February 1899, when British novelist and poet Rudyard Kipling wrote a poem entitled The White Man's Burden, the United States and the Philippine Islands. Now, in this poem, Kipling urged the US to take up the burden of empire as had Britain and other European nations. Theodore Roosevelt, soon to become vice president and then president, described it as, quote, rather poor poetry, but good sense from the expansionary point of view. Not everyone was as favorably impressed as Roosevelt. African Americans, among many others, objected to the notion of the white man's burden. What was that burden? Among the dozens of replies to Kipling's poem was The Black Man's Burden, written by African American clergyman and editor H.T. Johnson and published in April 1899. Now, a Black Man's Burden Association was even organized with the goal of demonstrating that the mistreatment of brown people in the Philippines was an extension of the mistreatment of black Americans at home. Now, in this poem, The Black Man's Burden by African American clergyman H.T. Johnson, he describes how the whites piled on the burden of shame, guilt, and subjugation on the blacks. Johnson anticipates how God will punish the colonizers. This poem elaborates what the colonizers did to the natives of Hawaii and Cuba in the first stanza. I want to read that poem for you briefly. Pile on the black man's burden, 'tis nearest at your door. Why heed long bleeding Cuba or dark Hawaii's shore? Hail ye your fearless armies, which menace feeble folks, who fight with clubs and arrows and brook your rifles' smoke. Pile on the black man's burden, his wail with laughter drown. You've sealed the red man's problem and will take up the brown. In vain ye seek to end it with bullets, blood, or death. Better by far defend it with honor's holy breath. But you see, that was then, in the 19th century. We're in the 21st century. What today is the black man's burden? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself? True, the whites from the West as well as the rising forces in the East all have their share in the matter. But we have a starker, viler, filthier, more repugnant and reviling truth to deal with. African leaders, well, some of them, though not all, are the black man's burden today. Yes. It's no longer the colonizers. It's no longer the white man. It's no longer the invader. It's no longer this or that person. Recently, Niger, in some videos we've seen, ousted the French ambassador. All fair and square. All these menacing activities. But all of those things, the neocolonialism is happening because of our leaders. And I'll explain to you with the slides why I premised my conversation with that poem, The Black Man's Burden. Come with me. In recent times, there's been a lot of talk from Mr. President. One of them on the increment of cocoa prices for the 2023-2024 season. Look, these political parties, they toy with us. They play with us. We are playthings for them, which is why going into the next election, while there is bad and there is badder or badder and worse, we must really, really critically, moving forward, ask ourselves whether our democracy is giving us the results we need. And while I feel we should stick to democracy, what changes we can bring to bear. Because we definitely cannot continue like this. Now, Akufo-Addo says, government has increased cocoa prices from 12,800 per ton to 20,943 per ton, or 1,308 cedis per bag. That price is 70.5% of the gross FOB price and is equivalent to 1,821 per ton. This is the highest price to be paid to cocoa farmers across West Africa in some 50 years. Fact? Fiction? Next slide. Then former President Mahama, so that's the football, MPP NDC. He believes the increase is unfair to farmers and their families. He highlights the record high international market price of $3,600, claims government's offer is only 52.7% of the international FOB price, and he argues that cocoa farmers deserve better treatment. We all agree on that, but who delivers the better treatment? Next slide. The minority leader, Dr. Castellato Forson. If the NDC were to be in government, we would have given a bag of, or have a bag of cocoa at 2,500 Ghana cedis and add a premium of 300 cedis. So you would have received 2,800 cedis per bag. Sir. Next slide. Then we have Richard Ahiagba, who speaks for the NPP. Government has not shortchanged farmers. Really. The new price has been greeted with joy and excitement from all stakeholders. Sometimes you rejoice at what you do not know. I'm not saying it's bad. I sat here and said that it is wonderful. But is that the best we could have done for them, especially in this economic situation and with our inflation? Farmers have been given the significant portion of the profits from cocoa export. Okay, let's look at the tail of the tape. Now, the 2023-2024 cocoa crop, now if you look at the Cocoa Board Boss, was sold at international prices between $2,200 and $2,400 per ton. The use of $3,600 per ton international price is wrong. Ghana's cocoa beans are primarily sold forward, with most of the 2023-2024 crop sold between October and March, that is October 2022 and March 2023, and spot prices are not to be used to determine cocoa. Fair and square. Next slide. And then we look at the state of Ghana's cocoa. Ghana ended the cocoa season a month earlier. Why? Due to lower expected output. That is the reality. That is what people are not telling us. This was mainly due to smuggling and illegal mining. The same smuggling that is destroying our cocoa sector. The Ivory Coast hasn't come out with its prices. If it ups the ante versus ours, you can bet that that problem will still fester. And as for Galamsey, let me not even go there. Ghana lost, take note, 150,000 metric tons of cocoa, equivalent to about 560 million Ghana cedis. Oh, in fact, dollars. I beg your pardon. $560 million. That's how gargantuan it is. Look at what we're going to the IMF for. Next slide. But now if you look at the performance of Cocoa Board in terms of profit or loss, especially as they've come to the fore, we've had to also interrogate their business, what they've been doing there. Okay? You are giving this to the farmers, but you yourself, what's your output? How have you been performing? And the bonuses you've been getting, do you merit them? Do you? In the UK, in the US, you see how companies, especially in the time of COVID and the credit crunch and all of that, ordinary people went after leaders of giant companies, CEOs and others, for their fat benefits. Let's look at this. Now, if you look at the tail of the tape and you look at the years, okay, and the losses. So red represents a loss, green represents a profit. Look at the years when we made any profit, 2013 and 2014. In 2013, 329.31 million. In 2014, 152.15 million. That was how many years ago? Okay? Before then, 2011, 2012, 61 million plus in losses, 109 million plus in losses. Since that time, the 2013-2014 belt that we broke, since that time, 2015, up till now, so this period still within the former administration, till now, look at the losses, up to 429.32 million. So what do we have to celebrate? How will we even be able to give better to the cocoa farmer when this is our performance? Next slide. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so cocoa price per bag since 2008 in Ghana cedis. And this is where it gets interesting. If you look at the prices, there'll be a certain line that runs through. 2008, 2009. This was an electoral year, by the way. So let's say from that point, 102, shot up to 138, 200, 205, it sort of stabilizes here. Then you see, ahead of an electoral year, 420. Then you come again, and you see that ahead of another electoral year, so this is the 2015 era, right before 2016, and in 2016, you see where it had shot up to, because of politics. It is politics they play with us. The two parties, politics. You come again to 2020, and you see where it ascended to. In fact, from 2019 to 2020, 515, politics. And now, though we've seen a certain steady trajectory, because we are in the political season, again, here we are. It's been spiked because of politics. They want to deceive us. Yes, That is what they do. They use these because guess what? Those who are farmers, their dependents, and those in the sector, you're looking at about 4 million people. So they play this ping pong with us, and then when it is getting to an electoral year, they give you a little nukofioko just to twist your minds. Whether it's the NDC or the MPP, they've done it, and it's being done again. Wake up, smell the coffee, or better still, smell the Milo. Doesn't it shock you that Ghana is the number 2 in terms of cocoa exports globally? But the Netherlands, their biggest export to the USA is cocoa powder. Not us. Them. Do they produce cocoa? No. The Netherlands is the number 1 destination of Ghana's cocoa. Our cocoa. It goes there. Then they process it into cocoa powder. And and You understand what I mean? You watching me, you understand. And the politicians watching me, I mean exactly what I'm saying. I said I would address you. And that's what we're doing here. You take us for granted. You throw crumbs to us at the end of the day and you think you've done something. We're not angry enough. I leave you with the words of Mark Skousen. Mark Skousen, who says, and I want you, Ghana, to put this in your minds, because if we don't bring change, change will someday force us to bring it. This is what Mark Skousen says. We shall never change our political leaders until we change the people who elects them. We shall never change our political leaders until we change the people who elect them. And that's us, you watching me, and me in the studio. We must change ourselves and our mindset, else our leaders will remain the same. My name is Benjamin Akapo. These Ghana are my blunt thoughts for you on another Friday morning, served hot, raw, unedited, and undiluted. As always, I pray God bless Ghana and make her great and strong.
According to Ghana's Statistical Service, 10% of illiterate population are concentrated in 9 out of the 261 districts. According to the service, data available from the 2021 Population and Housing Census indicates that only 9 of the 261 districts account for more than 1/10, that is 10.4%, of the 7.9 million illiterate persons 6 years and older. 4 of the 9 districts are in the northern region, 2 in the northeast region, and 1 each in Savannah, Volta, and Upper East regions. In sum, 822,259 persons are not literates. That is, they cannot read or write with understanding in any language. It is in this regard that the awareness creation about the day becomes relevant. The district chief executive for KJB district, Wilson Agbanyo, says the district has allocated a parcel of land for the construction of a learning center in the Oti region.
The KJB District Assembly has also earmarked a parcel of land at Islam Bank near the new courthouse to construct a learning center for the CA in the Oti region. It is also well to note that the KJB office of CA has started recruiting learners for Engage Now Africa to be trained in various skills development to enable them to become self-developed.
The Regional Director for Education, Nana Kubiajobakatai II, indicated that despite the myriad of challenges facing formal education in the region, it is making a headway in its final examinations. Thus, BCE and WASI.
It is through literacy that we foster tolerance,
empathy, and understanding, which are essential ingredients for peaceful coexistence. OT Educational Directorate is a beneficiary of literacy education, which is evident in our external examination, which is BECE and WASI. I am happy to inform you that OT, young as we are striding very well. For BECE 2021, as a region, we had 59.3%, and we moved from that to 65.1% in 2022. The story is not different for WASI. We are climbing along the ladder, and so for WASI, we moved from 40% in 2021 to 66.6% in 2022.
Mamle Andrews, Mrs., is the Chief Director at the Ministry of Education who represented the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Edichum. The ministry is urging all community leaders to ensure that all children of school-going age are enrolled in the formal education system.
We should all endeavor to increase the rate of adult literacy in our country and ensure that all our children of school-going age are put in schools. It cannot be done by government alone. We need the collective efforts of our dear chiefs, our opinion leaders, our parents, and our guardians in increasing the literacy levels around the world.
Emmanuel Intim is the Acting Executive Director, Complementary Education Agency. He says the agency currently has complementary basic education for children aged 8 to 16. This, he added, is to change the narrative of illiteracy in Ghana.
Presently, the agency is running the complementary basic education that has to do with out-of-school children between the ages of 8 to 16. And currently, we are implementing 5,000 CBE classes in 3 regions of Ghana. We are in Savannah region, Brno East region, and we are in Upper East.
Cecilia Amankwa is the country director for Engage Now Africa, one of the NGOs bridging the illiteracy divide. According to her, they have introduced vocational training modules into the training of their learners.
Our main mission is to heal and is to rescue our own brothers and sisters out of extreme poverty. And so we realize that teaching somebody how to read and write alone cannot solve that problem. We need to give them some skills as well so that they'll be able to do some businesses, to provide for their families and also to provide for maybe the community that they live in. So that's why we have introduced the vocational skills training program in 2018, and currently, as I speak to you, we have graduated over 2,500 learners on the vocational skills training program. We've given them skills in like soap making, in all the different types of soaps. We have given them skills in baking and cooking, skills in beads making, batik, tie and dye, detergent, antiseptic, hair products. We've also given them business management training as well, so that whatever skills they have acquired, they can go out there and do business with it. They are taught how to even save, how to budget, what kind of products they should sell, how to even brand their product, how to use the internet and the smartphones that they have to promote the products that they have been taught to do. So all these things are being taught in our classes. We also move our experts to the communities because our program is more of a community-based development programs. So we move more of our experts to the communities to give them such trainings.
Some learners have also been sharing their experiences with Joy News.
Actually, I'm a hairdresser apprentice. So we were in a shop one day and my auntie came to me, introducing the group to me, and I told her that, I'm a hairdresser, so I can't get time to be going to class.
recently celebrated International Literacy Day, but what is the state of literacy in the country, Ghana? As you saw from that report, there's a whole lot that we ought to be doing that we are not doing, a whole lot that ought to be tackled that we've not necessarily tackled in the best way possible. Well, joining us for a conversation as we get on this matter, all the way from KJB, well, we're coming back to Accra and spreading our tentacles nationally. We have Divine Pe in the studio. He is Senior Programs Officer, Africa Education Watch. Divine, thank you for joining the conversation.
Benjamin.
We also have Dr. Peter Anti joining the conversation. He is Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. And then we have Emmanuel Intim, Acting Executive Director, Complementary Education Agency, and then Richmond Edujemfi, Adult Literacy Manager, Engage Africa. Let me just say a very good morning to you, our guests on Zoom and likely via the phone lines as well. If you can hear me, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Benjamin.
Whom am I hearing?
Richmond.
Okay. I can't see all of you, so I have to be sure
okay.
As we go. So, Richmond Edujemfi. Okay.
Edujemfi, yes, please.
All right. Emmanuel and Tim.
Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Okay. All right. A very good morning to you too. Do we have Dr. Peter Anti yet? Not yet? Okay. All right. So I'll start with you. Let me start with you, Richmond, especially as you are an adult literacy manager for Engage Africa.
Engage in Africa?
Yes. When you look at the latest International Literacy Day and what emerged from KJB in the OT region, what are your major takeaways in terms of literacy in Ghana?
Okay, Benjamin, thank you for that wonderful question. Good morning once again to our listeners and viewers. Literacy, I think I would have to build it from the quote that Kofi Annan once said, that literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. I think what happened in KJB, I think is a good step, because the theme for the Literacy Day was to promote literacy for sustainable and peaceful societies in a changing world. So what happened there, I think I'm hopeful that henceforth we will take literacy seriously, because as Engage now, we know that a lot of organizations and institutions, I think they targeted our case, but we saw that the adults were left behind. So that was the reason why we chose to tackle the elders or the adults in our society. And I'm hopeful that things will be done right. And as our parents are educated, automatically, they will help their kids or their children to also educate themselves. So I'm hopeful that what happened in KJB will go a long way into changing our world.
Okay. I'll throw the same question to all of you. So for you, Richmond, as well, for you, Emmanuel, I beg your pardon. Emmanuel, what's your take on this?
Yes.
Mr. Ntim? Okay, so I hear there's a glitch with his connection. We'll come back into the studio. Divine.
Ben.
On the back of what happened International Literacy Day, what are your key takeaways? And for you, from where you sit, Africa Education Watch, what is the state of literacy in Ghana?
All right, thank you, Ben, and good morning to your viewers. Ghana Statistical Service has given us the indication that for the last decade, we have seen some improvements when it comes to both adult literacy and then that of the youth literacy. Notwithstanding, when it comes to the part of children, especially those in a primary school level, we still have significant improvement that we need to build on. Because even if you closely look at the 2021 results of a national standard test, it tells us that on average, we're having about 54 of the P4 children that took the examination, the NST, having the minimum proficiency in literacy. But even if you disaggregate the data further, you can even see in some regions over 90% of children not having the basic skill when it comes to literacy. So yes, despite the fact that we have to celebrate the progress we've made over the years, we still have ways to go, but I'm very happy that we are seeing some levels of commitment to address the situation at the school level and then also outside the school level. And when I mean the school level, interventions such as the Gallup differentiated learning and then the transition to learning program that is being implemented at KG to P3 level. And then also outside the school level, we are seeing the complementary basic education and then adult literacy program being delivered by the Complementary Education Agency to tackle some issues of literacy in the country. So yeah, the progress, we celebrate that, and also we need to celebrate the interventions being made by our government.
Right, the interventions being made by government. Which one of those interventions do you feel have actually had an impact as far as literacy is concerned?
Okay, the transition to English has been one of the programs that has improved literacy at the school level.
When you say the transition to English,
it's a program that's specially designed to equip teachers at the KG to P3 level with a skill to help learners acquire the basic literacy skills. So that has been running since 2018. I think it was launched in 2018, or if I'm not mistaken, or 2021. Yeah, so that is a program that is running. And then also the Ghana Accountability and Learning Outcome Program, which also is supposed to resource teachers and at the same time help teachers acquire the skill of differentiated learning. What that means is that you don't teach the students as a class, as a whole class, but you disaggregate them based on their performance in the classroom. If somebody can read and somebody cannot read, or somebody is at the basic level of reading, you need to regroup them based on their ability and teach them according to their ability. So teachers have received that training. What we need to do is to ensure fidelity of implementation of that program. And then the most critical one for me is the complementary basic education, which is providing 9 months accelerated learning for children that are age 8 to 14 to acquire basic literacy and numeracy skills for them to be transitioned to the regular school system. And that particular program over the years at least has helped 500,000 children to transition to the basic education, the formal education system. And tracer study on them shows that those that have transited to the formal education system, 90% of them are doing well when it comes to literacy. So the complementary basic education basically is a program that tackles children that are out of school. You know, currently we have 1 million children that have never been to school before, and then 400,000 that have been to school but have dropped out. So the complementary basic education targets such children who are outside the formal education system, give them the basic functional literacy skills and numeracy skills that they need to acquire. Within 9 months, once they acquire that, they are transited to the formal education system, then they continue with their education progression. And that particular program has also proven to be successful so far.
All right. Let me come now to Emmanuel in Tim. Emmanuel, can you hear me now? Oh, okay. All right. So we'll keep the conversation within the circles of Divine and Richmond. Now, there is a general acknowledgement, Richmond, when it comes to the subject matter that we're discussing, that there are crucial problems. In fact, looking at what the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, Complementary Education Agency, and Engage Now Africa has been saying, no one must be left behind in education in the changing global community. But the question is, what are the factors resulting in some of our population, those who ought to be getting the right literacy skills, not getting them? I've seen report upon report in terms of literacy in Ghana, the West African sub-region, among others. And it doesn't appear that we are making the most inroads that we could make. If you look at the last few years and you look at now, we've not come really far, have we?
Okay. So, Benjamin, that is true. That has been our worry. I think especially when you go to the rural areas, it's really sad. I think a lot of them even have the desire to go to school, but due to no fault of theirs, they are still home. I think most of them, especially the rural areas, is financial, but thanks to the free education. But I still don't know the reason why most of them are still at home, especially the kids. And this boils down to the fact that the parents themselves growing up never went to school. So some of them don't know the importance of education. That is the reason why, regardless the free education, they still don't allow their children to go to school. So I feel the factor some will be financial, but as I said, I don't think that is the number one challenge that we're facing now. So if they get to know the importance of education, then I assure you the parents will allow their kids to go to school. That is why I said in Engage Now Africa, these are some of the things we considered, because we know that everyone wants his child to go to school. But if the parent himself is not educated or doesn't know the importance of education, it becomes so hard to allow the kids to do so. So introducing the adult literacy program somewhere in 2014, because Engage Now is an NGO anyway. So introducing that and going to the marginalized areas, the rural areas, to empower them with these skills. We saw that, yes, they are now even allowing their children to go to school, because now the parents themselves can read, they can write, and they can assist their kids even in their homework when they can, unlike before. So I think one of the factors is to continue to promote literacy, even to the vulnerable, wherever they may be, in the north, in the wherever, whichever village, we find people there. Education must get to them, and we should help them with infrastructures so that the kids can go to school. We should build more schools, because once we visited Upper East, and that is one of the projects Engage Now does. We build schools for children, and especially we do that up north. And you could see the distance that children had to, just walk before they could go to school. So schools should be accessible to them. I think that is one thing that we lack as a country. So they should have easy access to education, to schools, so that it will be easier for the kids walking to school and coming home. And that is some of the things we are helping to, help governments even close that gap. And we are doing all that we can to make sure that we will do our part. But as I said earlier, the most important thing is to promote this and make that awareness to parents how important education is, so that they can also make their children, go to school. Because when they do, that's the only way they can become self-reliant. It's only education that can make us free. And we want them to rise above extreme poverty. And I think these factors can be overcome when parents are aware of the importance of education, and the government do their part. Stakeholders also help do their part to make education more accessible to the children.
Right, and of course, education is crucial in all of this, in terms of being able to navigate their way through the turbulent waters of life, and of course, whatever income they are going to get in future, it will be impacted. Let me bring in Emmanuel and Tim now. Emmanuel, can you hear me now?
Hey.
Hello, Emma.
Yeah, I can hear you, please.
Great, great. Acting Executive Director, Complementary Education Agency. For you, quickly, what is your take on the state of literacy? Is it reflective of what the Ghana Statistical Service tells us? And then again, on the back of the latest developments, well, government has done quite a bit, but the results don't seem to be where we would want them to be. What do you think are the factors?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to apologize I had a network challenge, so I was unable to join. initially for this discussion. I think I would want to start from this here. Yes, literacy, like my previous panelists indicated, the literacy rate in Ghana is a serious thing that we as a country or as agency under the Ministry of Education, we need to put agency into this issue. Because looking at the statistics, it's like the current statistics from Population and Housing Census 2021 indicates that 44.8% cannot read or write in any language. So this is a serious issue that we think. But we as complementary education agency, we believe that for somebody to enhance in their livelihood, there's the need for the person to acquire certain basic skills when it comes to literacy and numeracy. So going back and reflecting on what the recent activity that has to do with International Literacy Day, we want to use that platform to advocate that, yes, though the government as an agency through the Ministry of Education and as an agency, we are doing our best, but we think that, yes, there is the need to still bridge the gap. As we speak, per the current statistics, we as an agency, a government agency, we were able to implement only 45,000 of such people only for this year. And we think that going into the following distance, we need other partners to come in so that we can bridge this gap, because we know that it's something that we need to advocate. So that is it. And going forward, we are coming out with a lot of activities, because now the world is changing, and like Education Minister will always that we are in the 21st century. So in this regard, we think that as an agency, we need to come up with strategies to get all these people on board, because looking at the resources that's available, if we want to break this gap, then trust me, it will be very difficult for us to say that even in the next 20 years, if we can break this gap. So what we are intending doing is to liaise with other agencies like Centros and other things to have all these literacy programs, both online and offline, to introduce this kind of, let's say, social media and all other means so that people can access this literacy. So yeah, going forward, I think that we need to advocate. We need to advocate, because if we really want, though the government we are doing our best to make sure that we break the gap, but at the end of the day, looking at the resources that is also available to us, make it impossible for us to break the gap. So that is why we advocate. We took that platform to advocate that, yes, we want other institutions like Gauge Now, World Vision, and all those people within the complementary education space to come on board. We think together on a round table and see the way forward to break the gap.
All right. Coming into the studio, before we even get into the formal and non-formal, sectors, and those who have received formal education, those who haven't received formal education, and what we can possibly do for them, there are adult, literacy institutions in other countries that take care of these matters. What is the state of that? But before we get into that, it always, beats my imagination. A country I have been in, Cuba, within a year or two, they were able to transform their educational literacy levels to over 90%, and they've maintained that close to 100% over the years. It's always said that you don't reinvent the wheel. What someone has done before, you can always learn from the positives, of course, in your context, and apply. Why do you feel we're still lagging behind, Divine?
All right, it's true. We are in a global world, and what we need to do is to learn best practices of what people are doing and working for them. We need to learn that. And I'm pretty sure that we've learned series of things from other countries, try to bring them into our country to transform the delivery of education. The challenge has always been the sustainability of such interventions. So you see a program that runs for a period of time to help students to learn and read. Resources are mobilized and made available. Teachers are trained, capacity built. And then if the program is running for, say, 5 years, at the end of the 5 years, it means that the program has also come to an end because there is no mechanism to sustain that program and ensure that the program continues beyond its lifespan of implementation. So for me, I believe we are learning from what others are doing, and we try as much as possible to bring them to our space. But however, once the program lifespan ends, it means the end of such interventions. And we need to get back to address such challenge to ensure that if we have learned best practices from elsewhere and have integrated them in our educational space to help our learners to read, it's also pretty sure that we just make ensure that beyond the 5 years, whatever time we have allocated to it, the program is able to run across that. So that again brings me to the point of fidelity of implementation of such programs, so that we implement the programs well and then also ensure their sustainability. Beyond that, it also borders on issues of investments, financial investments, of course, because if you are trying to address literacy issues in a country and you have learned best practices, design programs, and you start to implement the programs, and you haven't made resources, financial resources, of course, available to sustain. Of course, how would it be executed? So, because even there's complementary education agency, formerly the non-formal education division, which is supposed to address these issues of literacy outside the school level, among the adults and then the youth that are not in school. You look at the budgetary allocation to them and the expenditure over the years, they are hopefully receiving nothing because, for instance, in 20...
Do you have any figures you can share with us?
Yeah. In 2020, the allocation to the complementary education agency, formerly the non-formal education division, was 0.38% of the total education budget. In 2021, it was 0.3%, and 2022 again 0.3%, and in 2023 this year it declined to 0.26%. So this is what they have been receiving over the years, and if you are not even getting 1% of what you need of the education budget to even implement your CA program, it's quite difficult for you to ensure that you sustain such programs. So for us, we believe that we need to make resources available, financial resources, of course, for the programs that we've learned somewhere, bringing them into the country for them to run effectively. But again, having mentioned that, I must also commend the government for making 2.1 million available this particular year for the implementation of complementary education. This is commendable because when the CBE was run, it has always been donor-led. Over a decade ago, when that has been running, it has always been donor-led. And we implemented one strand from 2012 to 2018. When it ended, government was supposed to take the financial responsibility, but government has not been able to do that. So 2019, the donors had to still take over. 2020, still donors. And then donors were not ready to sponsor in 2021 and 2022. So within these 2 years, we didn't have any CB program. But this year, Ghana government has made available 2.1 million for the CB program to be implemented. That's why we need to commend government for such effort, although much is required. But the progress, the demonstration of the effort to commit resources to it is quite commendable.
All right. Let me bring in Richmond Edu Jemfi once more into the conversation. I don't know whether we have Dr. Anti with us. I don't think we do. All right, Dr. Peter Anti isn't ready yet. So I'll go back to Richmond Edu Jemfi, adult literacy manager.
Okay, Benjamin. Yeah.
Okay, that's Richmond, right? All right.
Yeah,
all right.
Benjamin, yeah.
So I just wanted to get to the point of those who haven't received formal education over the course of their lives, adult literacy, so to speak. Where are we in Ghana, and how much more of a focus should we putting on that, since that exactly is down your alley?
Yeah, what's it? Exactly. Yeah, thank you very much, Benjamin. I think this is one of the reasons why we believe in partnerships. Yeah. So CEA is there to monitor and guide, especially with the let me say the NGOs to do the right thing. So as Engage Now Africa, as I said earlier, 2014, we introduced the adult literacy. Yeah. And from that, we've been able to enroll over 13,000 of adult learners. Yeah. And out of it,
13,000.
13,000, yeah,
right.
Since 2014. Yeah, and graduated 7,000 of them. But one thing that we also look at, because as I said earlier, we just don't want them to, because we know that when they learn how to read, they will be free, yeah. But we know that freedom wouldn't be complete. That was why in 2018, we had to even add the vocational skills to the training of our adults. And I would like to use this medium to even also plead with our men, because one thing I realized with our adult learners, about 80% of them are women, only 20 are men. And I'm sure Mr. Intim will also bear witness to that. I don't know what is happening with the men. I don't know whether it's because of our ego or not, but I know a lot of us.
The women are taking up the challenge.
Exactly. Maybe because I know one of our adult learners who is a man who wouldn't even join the women in class. I don't know whether it's shyness. So after the class, he would just see the facilitator privately, so that he would have his own, private class. Yeah, I'm telling you, and that's how patient some of our facilitators could be. They go the extra mile to even teach them that. So I think that is what is happening. But we believe in partnerships, because we can't do it all alone. So we need more, because there is this organization called United Way Ghana. United Way Ghana, they believe in children education so much, the CBE, and sometimes because they felt that, we are teaching these kids how to read and write, but their parents too must do something. So they will just partner with them, and it makes the work so easy, especially this International Literacy Day that we did. It was so easy because of the partnership we have with CEA, UNESCO, and everything. So I believe in partnerships so much. So when we partner, it becomes so easy for us to do so, because the adult learners, they are just there. And apart from learning how to read and write, I think they must be empowered with a skill, because if not, they wouldn't be interested. Because I think it was so boring for them when we started at first, because they felt that, we are coming to read and write. What next? After that, what next? Is it for us to just speak English? Is it but we know it's very, very important. That was how come we introduced the vocational skills. So they are empowered with these skills, and we do shoemaking, soap making of all kinds, baking, any skills of their preference, we are ready to do for them. Then after that, we even help them with a starter pack in forms of provision of materials and tools, everything so that they can start their own businesses and feed themselves, feed their children. And we know this will go a long way into making impact in individuals and family lives. And I think partnership here is very key, because it requires a lot of resources to get to them, because they are in the vulnerable areas.
Right.
A lot of them are there. Yeah.
I just have some follow-ups for you. So basically, the core components of the courses, you teach them literacy, how to read, how to write.
And write, and the numeracy.
Numeracy, exactly.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
if you don't add numeracy skills to this, even when you polish them off and say, look, we want to introduce you to a skill, even the monetary aspect of it might be problematic. So you do that, and then you have the specific skills training depending on what they want to do.
Exactly. What they want to do. Yes.
You spoke about funding. How have you been able to fund it up to this point?
That's why I said that we believe in partnership. When we partner to do it, it becomes so easy. I think United Way Ghana is one of our partners, and recently I think we partnered with MTN. MTN celebrated their yellow 21 yellow day, so they came to engage Now Africa, and we have to do it. Became easy because they wanted
came to you.
What they,
you did not even go to them; they came to you.
Oh, what we are saying is that because they know that we are service providers.
Okay, all right.
So what we partnered with them so that they can impart what they have even to our adult learners and even the youth who were invited, because we had this customer care training they gave them, digital literacy, which is also very difficult, especially for the adults. Some of them are holding smartphones, but they don't even know what to do with it. How they could even market their product, the skills that they have acquired, how they could market all those things, even social media, and use their phone to the best of their benefit. So partnership is key here because we can't do it all alone. We are an NGO. We have, people donate to it, but that's not sufficient. But when you partner, maybe this one could contribute a little. We could then, when we put them together, we can make great impact. So we believe in more of partnerships.
Thank you. Let me come to Mr. Ntim. Complementary education, it is crucial, just as this adult literacy bit that we're speaking of. In that space, what have you been doing, and what do you think moving forward can be done to sustain the efforts that we started on? We are not where we want to be. At least, thank God, we are not where we used to be, but there's still a lot to be done. From that end, what do you have to share with us?
Okay, Ben, thank you once again. And let me emphasize that Complementary Education Agency, we are responsible for out-of-school learning, right from the primary to tertiary. That is what our Act mandates us to do. And as I speak with you, we have programs, we have about 4 major programs that we are running to bridge the gap between those who are in school and those who are out of school.
What are they?
The first program that we are running has to do with the complementary basic education that Divine spoke about. That has to do with children who are out of school between the age of 8 to 16. We provide 9 months intensive learning in numeracy and literacy in local language, in the community where they find themselves, in their local language.
Right.
And we introduce the English language as a second language in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month to them. And at the end of the day, we assess them and we transition them to the formal school, either class 3 or class 4, based on the assessment that we do. But one of the alternatives, because previously, looking at their age bracket, somebody might be between the age of 14, 13, who wouldn't want to go back to the formal school way, but what alternative learning pathway do we have for such people? So we at Complementary Education have designed other programs by way of engaging them in a life skill training and development. We are partnering with TVET and CTVET to ensure after these people have been given let's say the skill, the literacy skill for 9 months. Right. What is the next stage for them? Yeah, so we engage them in this aspect, and at the end of the day, we enroll them to either TVET or other life skill. One of the alternative way also has to do with as I indicated, what learning pathway can we create for them? So going forward, what we're going to do as one of our learning pathway is to create our learning platform in such a way that such a person can continue on the non-formal way or the complementary education way through to senior high school. So basically, that is what we are doing for the complementary basic education. And now, as I speak with you, Divine mentioned that this year government committed 2.1 million for CBE. Yeah, that money was given to CEA, and we are implementing 5,000 learners in this space. And one program that we also run has to do with the remedial education program.
Right.
The remedial
I think the feed is frozen again. The connection is frozen again. Gentlemen, let's look at what we should be considering as our core targets moving forward, as government, as state agencies in the education sector, as private entities in the education sector? What should we be looking at moving forward to ensure that illiteracy, or our low levels of literacy, I should say, is brought to the barest minimum? I'll start with you, Divine.
All right, Ben. I think Richmond has set the tone for that, talking about partnership. Building partnership is very important because especially with the CSOs, they are on the ground. They know the communities very well, where the people are, those that are out of school, adults that do not have the basic skills when it comes to literacy. They know them. So government needs to build a partnership with them to deliver literacy education. And we have seen that when it comes to the Ghana Education Outcome Project, government has currently, in partnership with School for Life, Street Child UK, and Plan International, they are delivering complementary education in some communities, and that is very helpful. We need to encourage government to build more of the partnership, identify more of the CSOs that are in the space, and commit resources to them to be able to go into the community to identify the people and help them out. And I also know that the CEA, the Complementary Education Agency, is developing resource mobilization strategy. Right. That's very important because at the end of the day, it's going to be about resources to deliver the program. So it's very important that steps are taken for that particular document to see the light of day, and then also should be implemented very well. The strategies, it has received a lot of consultation from different partners, including the CSOs, and I know that's a very rich document. If well implemented, resources can be made available to deliver CBA, and not just that, any other components of complementary education that the CEA has a responsibility to deliver. All right,
thank you, Divine. Let me come to you, Richmond. What would be your take on how we ought to move in the next few months, a year, years, to ensure that the targets that we are seeking to achieve on the score of literacy can be achieved?
Okay, thank you very much. So Benjamin, as I said earlier, I will just hammer on the fact that partnership is the way to go. Partnership is the way to. Government can do it all alone. The CSOs can't, but when we come together, that's when we can meet because it needs a lot of resources. Yeah. So we should just put our heads together, and it has to be inclusive, especially when it comes to the adult education. The community leaders, chiefs, political leaders, and all of them must come on board, so that we make sure that all the programs and policies, especially the ones from the government, could be, implemented well to just meet the targets that we've set for ourselves. So I will repeat that partnership is the way to go. Is the best way we can.
Partnership is the way to go. Let me just, out of curiosity, what are some of the entities that you are hoping would partner with you? I mean, you don't have to mention specific company names, but in which sectors are you hoping that people would, complement your work through partnership? Briefly on that.
Yeah, from my experience, I think that a lot of organizations are ready to help or sponsor education. Even the embassies, the embassies, they are there to do that. We have a lot of CSOs that I can't even mention names right now. But from the proposals that we write and those ones that come to us, a lot of organizations, both those in the education sector, they are all ready to help, frankly, because whenever we meet them and we talk about education, everyone would want, but I don't know, maybe is the fact that how to start is the problem. But as CEA, that's why I'm happy Mr. Intim is here. And we are very close. Our offices are close. Right. And we work together to make sure that this happens. Yeah.
All right. That's refreshing to hear. Emmanuel and Tim, you have the final word. I hope the connection is better now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Final words on that same, trajectory.
Okay, thank you. Like my brother indicated, we at the Complementary Education Agency believe in partnership and collaboration. So if we want to do all the activities, it will be impossible for us to do. So we need to bring all of them on board. So going forward, we have our policy and we have our policy and we have our strategic plan. And in the next few months, we're going to bring on board all stakeholders within the complementary education space, those NGOs and all those who matters when it comes to complementary education. We're bringing them to a round table to come up with strategies that can help us reduce this number of non-literate youth and adults in the country, because we see this as a critical thing that we don't have to joke about. So very soon, all plans are in place to bring all of them on board. And like he indicated, we've started the collaboration and partnership with them. And we're going to see how best we can extend to other people, because as we speak, we have other NGOs like Luminous and other people who are also doing very well in the CBE arena. So we are going to bring all of them as an umbrella, and as an agency responsible for complementary, we will see how best we can regulate all these NGOs so that they all come on board.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for having joined the conversation. We were hoping to have been joined by the Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti, but unfortunately, he couldn't join us. All the same, we had Richmond Edujemfi, Adult Literacy Manager, Engage Africa, Emmanuel Ntim. You just heard him, Acting Executive Director, Complementary Education Agency, and of course, in the studio, Divine Quest, Senior Programs Officer, Africa Education Watch. This has been our conversation on literacy on the back of International Literacy Day. And of course, the conversation continues. We take a breather. We'll be back with more on the AM show. Don't go anywhere.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. It's a privilege to have you watching the AM show this morning. I'm Bernice Abubedu Lansa, and just gone by Benjamin Akapo. Together with our very important guests, we're discussing education and looking at all the gaps that need to be filled. You don't need to be a member of the Church of Pentecost to know that their mission is to possess the nations. They've said it so much, it's stuck in our heads, right? And we know that that is the big ambition of that church. In July this year, they organized the National Development Conference. The president was there, the vice was there, literally. The entire government machinery was there. And there were very important conversations that were had about national development and the way forward. So after that, here's what the church has decided to do, to organize an all ministers conference. It's a very interesting concept because the Church of Pentecost this time is going beyond its church to engage Christians alike who belong to other denominations. And I love this because it's very interesting. I haven't seen anything like this. And this morning I've been joined by Emmanuel Opondonko. He's a pastor, the district pastor of the Church of Pentecost Adenta District. Good morning to you, Pastor. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm a Christian. I don't shy away from saying this. And I find this very interesting. Can you just briefly explain to us how this whole concept was birthed and why it's important for the Church of Pentecost to organize this All Ministers Conference?
Right. This year's is not the first.
Yeah.
Indeed, it's the second. We had it last year. Churches have their own way of doing ministry. But in the end, we all aim at one thing, that's spreading the good news of the gospel. And by the power of the Holy Spirit, transform human beings, make them citizens of heaven, the ultimate goal of Christianity. But we live in a human society, so the impact of the church has to be felt. That the church should spearhead the morality, righteousness, which are the key factors for any nation to develop. Without those things, a nation can develop, but we may suffer the consequences of the evil. And so the Church of Pentecost thinks that Christians can come together and spearhead this. United, we are strong. When we stand alone, we fall. It's like the broom. You can't break it when it is together. You take one, you can break it. So we can present a united voice in the nation to back the government to do what it's expected to do.
Very interesting. You say this is the second edition?
Yeah, that's the second.
Do you mind sharing with us some of the highlights of the first one and what the conclusion of that conference was?
It was huge. Over 3,000 participants held at Gomuafete Pentecost Convention Center. And it was marvelous, lovely. We deliberated on issues bothering the church and how our presence can be felt in the country. The church is not an island. It is living in human community. And so we deliberated on issues like righteousness, the church and the state, what we can do to help the nation to develop, and then spirituality, how to do ministry. I remember one individual came to talk about ICT and technology. And that was so much fascinating for me. He opened up to us to tell us how the world we are in is technology-based and IT, so you can't be isolated. Otherwise, you are left behind and you become rusticated. So you need to be abreast with times. And then he also opened us as to the little dangers in it, the fraudsters and all those people, and how we'll be able to keep ourselves safe and all that. So that it was fantastic. Dealing with the church and the state and how we can be important to the state and how our presence can be felt, speaking to the issues, not keeping silent. Because we are aiming at heaven, but we are living on earth.
Right.
What we do here affects whether you go to heaven or not.
Interesting. Yeah. So this year has a specific theme.
Sure.
And do you mind just running us through what the theme of this year's All Ministers Conference is?
All right. It's about moral development, the role of the church. Moral and national development, the role of the church. It's the moral vision and national development, the role of the church.
Right. So, can you just help us understand why this is important? I see that you're trying to build a correlation between the moral vision and national development. Yeah. So how does the church, how do you believe the church will play into all of this?
Right. Morality defines human existence because what we do affects us as human beings. If we are morally bankrupt, our society will become bankrupt. And everybody will do what they want, not taking into consideration what their actions, the effect of their actions on their individual lives, on the lives of their family, and the nation at large. If we go rampaging, killing people, having sex, irrespective of who they are, and promoting things that are promiscuous and all that, then no matter how we preach, no matter how we pray, the nation will be affected. And we all live in the nation. It is said in Akan, say, Okonfubonia or Sikurumono or Timubi. If you're a bad pastor, a bad prophet, and you prophesy that the nation doom should fall in the nation, you're also part of it. So if we sit down and keep quiet and we don't say anything, we have been preaching, we have been talking about being good, being a person with high moral standards. But we think that it's about time that we brought all the churches together and we speak the same language.
Okay.
Over the times, this one is saying that, this one is saying that. I think it's about time we said that let us come with one purpose. And let us, if we will not be preaching the same thing all the time, at least we have a common goal.
And a vision.
And a vision.
Right.
The morality of the people. And if we're able to do that, then it has relationship, it has a correlation to the nation. And then the last national development program that we had, we think that is about the time the church speaks. We have been speaking. The communal groupings, the Catholic Bishop Conference, Christian Council, Ghana, Pentecostal and Charismatic, individual churches, whatever. we all have been speaking. If there are issues, Catholic Conference will write, Pentecostal Council will write, the Christian Council will write. But we think that it has not done much. So now let us come together.
That almost appears to be usually after the event. You want to be more proactive now.
So now we want to speak into it even before it happens.
Right.
So we are hoping that our voice will be heard and our message will be taken serious.
Fantastic. So I see 12 speakers lined up here.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting lineup you have there. So you have your own apostle, and then you have Archbishop Charles Ajanasari, who is with the Perez Chapel International.
Yeah.
You have Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo, who is with the Methodist Church. You have the president of the Apostolic Church as well. And then there's the Assemblies of God, there's Royal House, there's
Charles Pramabako,
who is a Catholic,
yeah,
and then you have Lighthouse represented by Bishop Emmanuel Interfo. You have our very own Reverend Dr. Joyce Ayi. She's Executive Director of the Salt and Light Ministry. You have Mr. Emmanuel Baba Mahama. He is with the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International. He's its national president. Bernard Avle, it's interesting. Now I'll ask why Bernard is here, because one thing I see is all these people are either heads of churches or they run ministries. Reverend Helena Opoku Sarkodie is with the Tema Joint Church. But Bernard Avle is a journalist at City FM. Just tell me why you have
He's a guy who came to speak on IT and technology and open us to the nitty-gritties of it. As a pastor, you need to have at least. And some of us were born at a time that these things were not very common. If you are 60 years and above, you know that sometimes they say BBC, born before the computer. But we are all trying to migrate. So now we are digital migrants, trying to migrate from our old way of doing things into the system so that we will not be taken for a ride.
I'm just excited to see him amongst this group of people who are going to be.
He has a key role to play to enlighten us to know what is happening on the ground.
Okay.
Our children and how they are using these gadgets, and if we are ignorant about it, then we'll be sitting there and things will be happening around us. And as a father or mother, you become like a toy. They play around you.
Exactly. And also because as pastors, you speak to such a mixed grouping.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't know how you do it, because you enter a church and there's young people, sometimes 18, 19, 20, then you have the 70s. So speaking to everybody and trying to meet them at the point of their understanding, it's quite interesting. So I get why it's important for you to, bridge the gap between the generations. But tell us what you're hoping for at the end of this conference.
So let me maybe talk about some of the topics to be treated.
Please go ahead.
So, for example, Apostle Nyamiche will be talking about the church call to worship. And Apostle Emmanuel Ajimambe Queen, the Church of Pentecost, we're talking about the priesthood of the priests for moral development. And then Reverend Joshua Opong Safo, the church, the culture of the kingdom of God. As you see, all of these topics have something to do with church and the development, moral development, and then the nation. If we develop our morality and we all live well for Christ, the nation will live well. If we leave everything to chance and say that let everybody do their own thing, and the evil overweigh the good, then we have a serious problem. The next step you take, you see an evil happening, and you see that staying in this country will become a problem. If morality goes down, you and I will have a problem to deal with. You'll be sitting in your house and they will come and arrest you for no. And then when issues are sent to court and the people there are not morally upright, then you know what kind of sentence you're going to get and the issues that will come out. So then we think that this is very critical.
All right. So for those who've already registered for the conference, right? They are aware of some of these things, I'm sure. But is there room available? Who qualifies to participate in the All Ministers Conference, and how can they be a part of it?
For now, we are looking at pastors.
Okay.
Heads of churches, pastors, individuals who have their own churches, and everyone in the pastoral group.
Okay. So how do they have to call a number? Do they have to register? Or?
We have our flyers all around.
All right, okay.
We have QR codes there.
You can scan
them. Scan and then send your registration, and little money to pay is 500 Ghana cedis.
Okay, because that's will cater for accommodation and food
sure.
and all those kind of things, right? So this is happening from the 19th to the 22nd at the Pentecost Convention Center at Gumwafete. But what do you expect people to take away from the conference?
Right.
The ministers you are inviting, what do you hope they will leave with?
Yeah, ministry is broad, and people have their own understanding of what they read in the Bible and how they interpret them. But in the end, we are all Christians, and we're hoping we have one agenda. Now, we think that we can affect some of the ministers by the things that we are going to teach and bring them to perspective on the other things. Some are younger ministers, others are senior ministers. There will be things like mentorship, there will be things like counseling. The senior ones will counsel the junior ones and impress upon them. Then if they have challenges, they talk. And we think that by doing that, somebody can have a mentor and a mentee situation where they can call them after the program so that they can help them develop their ministries.
That's fantastic.
So we are building a relationship kind of thing to help everybody do what is expected of them to do. Idea behind is nation building, nation development.
All right. And another thing, these are speakers or ministers coming from different backgrounds. I'm just curious, will there be opportunities for having conversations on some of the doctrinal concerns, because sometimes people believe that certain actions do not make the church look good and do not portray the church to be one that is really following the tenets and the preachings of Christ. Would you have a forum like that where you discuss some of these issues for consensus?
Actually, the main issue is not about doctrinal issues. Doctrine, as people see when they sit behind it, we have more that unites us than what disintegrates us. Of course, in all churches, Holy Spirit is key. The Word of God, the Gospel, the basic things. And I don't know a church who don't think about heaven and they are thinking about other things. I don't think there is any like that. Everybody is hoping that one day we'll land in that great city. And so the things that unite us are more than those that divide us. And we're going to build on that. The few things like, for example, if I am singing, I'm doing my church and I clap my hands, and you do your church and you don't clap your hands, you have this solemn church and I have this vibrant church, it doesn't take anything away. If you sit to sing or I stand to sing, it doesn't change anything. So those things we call dogmatic issues. There are doctrines and practices. Those basic, simple practices does not take anything away from us. So we're going to build on what unites us and what will promote a nation with focus of heaven in sight. This is the main objective. So those things that people think are divisions surely are not. When we were children, we were thinking differently. But when we grew up and have studied a lot, then we know that indeed we don't have much differences. We have more that unites us as people with one objective.
I love that. And if there is the clearest indication yet, I think this is it, where we see all these ministers who come from different denominations coming together for the All Ministers Conference organized by the Church of Pentecost, and it will be held from the 19th to the 22nd of this year. The flyer is available. I would just ask that we put it on the screen again. There are numbers you can call. If you're interested, just follow. I know that the Church of Pentecost also has a very vibrant media ministry. So you can get onto Facebook, look for the Church of Pentecost official page, and you furnish yourself with all the details. But this is something that you would love to be a part of. Just look at the lineup there and tell me why you wouldn't want to be part of this if you were a pastor or a minister. So just do that. And like Pastor Emmanuel Opondonko said, together, the church will create that difference that we hope it will make. Anytime we talk about Ghana statistics and the percentage of Christians, the question always is if we have this percentage of Ghanaians being Christians, why do we still see the rot and the corruption that exists? I know that's a conversation for another day, whether the church must be blamed for the corruption or not. We had a conversation earlier, and it was an interesting one some time back. But Osafo, any last words?
Sure. So the last point that you have dropped on, now this is what people think, that why the church so huge in Ghana, why the level of corruption. In fact, what you see now is a little of what should have happened if there was no church. Because consider if all the armed robbers that have been saved are still doing armed robbery.
So it would have been worse off.
It would have been worse off. So the church is doing a Herculean job, a job that is no one can do apart from Christ through the church. So if you don't understand and you stand afar, then you can do this kind of criticism and criticize the church wrongly. But the church has done a lot. And in this our country called Ghana, the church is a major stakeholder. Consider all the missionary schools. Consider all the mission hospitals. Consider the agriculture. I can tell you on fact that some of the food and the things we eat were brought in by missionaries. Talk about pineapple, talk about yams, and all of them. All of the things we do now came as a result of the missionary activities in those days back. And so if you don't know, you stand back and criticize the church because one pastor did something wrong and you take it to be the entirety of church. No, we are doing great things. Even now that I speak, if you come into the Church of Pentecost, see the marvelous thing that we are doing, building prisons, doing...
A lot of people have issues with
that. Lot. Yes, you may have an issue, but consider your brother in Insawam, a prison room that was created for about 50 people, now taking about 500 people. Are they not human beings? Yeah. So people can say what they want, but the finality of it is that human dignity is what we look at and can help them focus on reform. So we have a reform center at Insawam. Apart from building the prisons, we also build a reform center to reform people. And this is what the church is up to do. If you don't understand, if you don't know this, then you can criticize the church anyhow. But I tell you, if it was not the church, would have been in trouble.
Possessing the nations, indeed, and that's the mission of the church.
And you respond,
Pentecost.
I am an agent of transformation.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Thank you so much, Pastor Emmanuel Opondo, District Pastor, Church of Pentecost at Denta. And what he just said about the church being worse off, or the country being worse off if the church was not existing in Ghana, is an idea that Reverend Eastwood Anaba shares. He's president of the Eastwood Anaba Ministries and founder of the Fountain Gate Chapel. So it's going to be an interesting one, and then we hope and pray that the vision of this All Ministers Conference will begin to be felt even as the second edition comes off much later. Let me say thank you to you once again.
Thank you too.
And our respects to Apostle Nyameche, chairman of the Church of Pentecost. We'll take a quick breather now. When we come back, we'll be interacting with you. Do stay. Thank you for staying on the AM show. Benjamin Akapo is back. Hello. How are you?
I love your earrings.
Oh, thank you.
Please turn so they can see the earrings. I wish I could.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do some
very flowery
calculation. Get what's happening. Yeah, and I see your brown in the shades.
Yeah. This was a gift from Sunyani. I had to rock it today.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Someone sent it to me.
Oh,
Signature Designs. Sunyani, and I found that was.
Oh, thank you so much.
I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, but it's a nice shirt. It's a lovely shirt.
Very nice gesture. So I'm rocking it today too.
You're rocking it well.
Yeah.
All right. It's now time to get interactive with you. The number to call is on your screen. Share your thoughts with us. We've been talking education today and also looking at the role of the church in national development. That's a very interesting one. You know I'm a church girl, so I love conversations about church and about impact and about influence. Oh, he's a Sunday school teacher. Relax. I was going to tell them. He is a Sunday school teacher. So, I mean, people have their issues with the church. I mean, not to take that away from them. But there's such a huge role the church is playing, especially in our country. And it's important that quite often we assess and reassess our trajectory and see if we're making the needed impact. And I think that's why this initiative by the Church of Pentecost is very laudable. I mean, it doesn't need to come from your home church. If it's something that is good and something that is going to help us as a nation, I think they deserve.
When you're beating a path,
yeah.
at some point you must pause and look behind to find out whether it's curving or straight.
Okay, so Frank from Bando is our first caller. Hello, Frank. Let's hear what you have to say.
Good morning.
Good morning.
There is a serious fraud going on Next TV. Next TV about ROP.
Sorry, Frank. So, Frank, can we speak to you off air? My producers will engage you on that. This involves another entity. We cannot allow you to, say it on air. It may cost us. So let's just engage you off air.
So please don't drop the line.
Yeah, just engage
our production.
Yeah, so that we can take your concerns and forward them to the appropriate quarters.
Speaking of which, I got wind of something recently. I'm just going to share with everyone. I hear the new trend, carjacking trend, is that, let's say people see that your car is nice, you're on a motorbike, they follow you. Let's say you come and park here, and they come and steal your license plate.
Oh, wow.
You don't know, right? Then when you take off, they follow you
and say you've dropped it.
And then they'll signal to you that, hey, you've dropped your... So obviously you will think, oh, it's fallen, and then they take over your car.
Wow.
If they don't take you in addition. So
people are just being very creative.
Let's watch out. This just brought that to mind.
And another thing you need to also look out for is when we were coming, I was driving to work, I was listening to our colleagues on Joy FM, and one of the companies that advertises with us was cautioning prospective clients not to pick contacts of Google. Now, that is what the fraudsters are also doing. So you need to be careful. We just want to use this opportunity. This can save you. I've been a victim before. So let's say you want to order some pizza or engage any entity and you decide to Google their phone number. Usually companies will put I
lost 50-something CDs once just because I hear someone on his birthday. This entity, when I got there, so they've put in remedial measures. Someone on his birthday was ordering pizza for his office. Close to 3,000 CDs, Charlie.
No, you didn't place an order. So you just need to be careful. Just look for the official website or official Facebook page of whoever you want to engage. It's safer that way.
Even the Facebook.
No, official. It is safer that way. But on Google, anything is possible. Well, unfortunately, we cannot take any more calls, Benjamin. It looks like our lines may be a bit dodgy.
Time yakari.
That's you know the meaning of the. Okay, well, of course you do because of how you used it. But do you speak Hausa?
I understand quite a bit of that. Those are some of my, it's one of my assets.
Yes.
So I'll be walking. I remember this day around Afrikiko, there was this gentleman who was on a motorbike. He did some stuff in front of me. We got to the traffic light, and then I was like, then he started speaking Hausa. I said something back to him, and he was looking at me like,
all right. Yes, thank you so much. But we have a special
birthday. Should we call him out here?
Oh, we can. Oh, all right.
I can't believe this. Bandana rocking, Anyway.
All right, so today is our sound man,
Dennis Thompson's birthday.
Yes.
You call him Quaver.
Yeah, Quaver. He sings too, so you can check him out.
He's a musician.
He's a musician, and he plays the saxophone, So you can check Quaver out on YouTube, but today's his birthday.
Choami.
He did a special rendition of Sina Soul's Da, 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 da. So you can check him out, but we wish him a very happy birthday. And Dennis, much love. I told you I would have sorted you out, but for, you get what I mean.
For me, though it's his birthday, he didn't come out here. We're going to have our after fight, after the party.
Okay, okay, but we'll still sort him out. Thank you all so much for joining us. Up next is News Desk with Aisha Ibrahim. She's back, and I love doing it for her, but you know, she's back with a bang. So you stay and hold on for Aisha. She's got a lot of interesting things for you, including the former Chief Justice, Sophia Akufu, calling for a review of the 1992 Constitution. You want to stay for details of that. Take care.